Sorry about that, folks. Apparently, you missed Joey and I talking about my bald head. So I'm sending him another link right now. And Rochi, thank you, because I had a message that we were live on StreamYard. I mean, I'm on YouTube, so we were. And let's see if Joey gets back, which I think he will. So this is real special for me to get to interview Joey. For any of you who know, the last time Joey and I were together, um, it was kind of a blowout. We were actually on Ray's show, and we argued. Wow, I've got the police pulling in front. Very exciting. All right, here's Mr. Catalano. Joey, we're back and we're live.
Okay, very good.
Hopefully, because and I guess the people on YouTube can tell us. Yes, we are live. Thank you, Rochi. I know.
Thank you.
What Rochi is he your biggest fan, Joey?
Well, he's my biggest pain in my side. No, he's followed me from the very beginning. He always chipped at me from the very beginning. I'll say that.
I noticed that every show you're on, I see him in the chat, and I always. So he must be a fan, even if he won't admit it.
Yeah.
And so the goal here, guys, tonight is for Joey and I to talk. I want to ask him a bunch of questions. I want to get to know him a little more than from what we know in the Dabbleverse. No yelling. There will be no yelling. There will be no judging. And I've also told Joey that after I get to ask him questions, he can ask me anything he wants, and I will do my best to answer them if I can. And also, too, I'm not here to make Joey uncomfortable. So there's something he doesn't want to answer. That's fine. We'll just, move on to the next thing. So my first question for you, Joey, is so the first time I saw you was on the Schmuel show. I think you were in a car, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
But I came to learn later on that you've been involved in, I don't know if streaming, but certainly in podcasting and doing things with different radio people. When did you start that, and what made you start it?
Well, obviously working in baseball, you're around media guys and radio guys, and so it's always been a thing of mine since I was young. I just started. I had an upper hand to interview baseball players. We had a lot of rehabs in AAA come down from the major leagues, and I was pretty close with a lot of those guys. So I just started, bringing them in and setting up something in the clubhouse and interviewing them and doing interviews, and I enjoyed it. It was relaxing for me. And then I went to where we would smoke a cigar on the stream, and we kind of made it like a cigar smoking talk thing, and I would just post them on YouTube. This was back when you didn't have live streams or stuff like that. So, but I could say for a long time it was a thing that I enjoyed as a hobby.
And I've been told you used to call into the Howard Stern show.
Quite a bit. I actually got on the Howard Stern show February 6th, 2019.
Wow. Is that before or after he turned into the person?
Sorry, was it? I didn't hear that.
I said, is that before or after Howard became the person he is today?
Oh, well, I mean, he was already making that turn he was all Hollywood and interviewing, just A-list actors, and it was right around then when he started making the big turn. But it was, February 6th, 2019. I got about 4 minutes and 58 seconds with him and Robin, and it was pretty good. It went pretty well.
So you and Cardiff have both been on the Howard Stern show.
Yes.
I would never have thought to call into that stuff because I was getting nervous calling into Tuki's show. So
I drove my family nuts over it. I'll tell you that.
And the back and forth, the lag when I would call would always freak me out. But all right, so have you always been comfortable like on camera and behind a mic, or is that something that's developed over?
I've always never had a fear for camera or mic. I mean, I'm pretty outspoken. That never bothered me,
And so now you're doing it on your own. Um, what made you do that? What made you think that you had something to offer that
Well,
people would want 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 to hear or want to see?
well, it. I really didn't. It wasn't about if I had it or I can do this and be good at it. My original plan was I wanted to tell my life story. I've been through a lot of crazy things that I thought I could maybe help some people, especially with my addiction that I had for 33 years, and some of the life tragedies that I went through. I always felt when that day came that I knew it was going to be over, that I would be a hell of a counselor to help people get off of drugs because I've done it all, seen it all, and I know what's bullshit and what's not. And my goal was to just tell my life story and hopefully people can connect with it. But surely kind of tried to steer me away. I didn't know what the Dabbleverse was. I didn't know it was all comedians and everybody joking. And he tried to talk to me several times. He didn't feel comfortable with me coming on there to tell my life story. He goes, because we're going to have to bounce on you. That's what we do. And he didn't want to do that. And when I went on, it was kind of a disaster because he didn't want to bounce on me and crack jokes. And it kind of went stale. But uh, then we had a falling out shortly after that because I did something that I shouldn't have done to him, and then I just went on my own, and that's when DG came into picture, and one night, and I just started streaming, and really took an interest, and basically he told DG to keep an eye on me and keep me calm, and I needed somebody to keep a watch over me, and then as I progressed, we made peace, and then he had me on several times in 2023 throughout the year. So.
So, what was the falling out? And I don't mean you don't
I,
have to
I
tell me specific.
called him. I called him on his cell phone when he didn't even know I had a cell phone. Ray DeVito or somebody posted his phone number. They doxed him and I didn't even know what doxing was. To be honest with you, it just I saw numbers spelled out in letters. It was like a seven was spelled out seven, and it
Okay,
said,
before we go any further, I just want to say Ray DeVito has never doxed anyone.
no, no, I'm just saying this is what they
We
said.
gotta get
Yeah, yeah.
that clear. All right.
Oh no,
Go
I'm
ahead.
good. I love Ray. I'm just saying this is how it presented
All right.
that day. This was from Ray DeVito. So, and I hadn't really know much about Ray DeVito, and I'm like, wow. And then myself, I go, this can't be really Shuli's number. This has got to be a joke. So I'm gonna call it. It's gonna be some joke. And Shuli answered the phone, and I hesitated because I knew it was him, and I go, Shuli? He goes, yeah, who's this? I go, it's me, Joey C. And he went crazy on me. I mean, how did you get what? He was cooking lunch for his daughters, and he wasn't happy. And then he wrote me an email saying, "You want to come on my show?" And you call me went up. That was really, and he was pissed. I mean, it went back and forth with some pretty nasty emails to me, and it took him a long time to calm down for that. I admitted to him. I apologize. I didn't really think it was your number. I didn't think people were cruel like that to do something like that. And I learned quick.
But you did call. I mean, you did
I
call him,
did,
and
right, that's
you
right, and
weren't
that's what
surprised when it was him,
right, I still
right?
made the call, like, that's what he said, "You still called me, whether you knew it was my number or not, and he's right, I did, 100%, you
Right?
know,
Because
so,
I seem to remember that time. I know that he took a liking to you,
yeah,
um, and I also seem to remember somebody was jerking you around and got you to send pictures that you didn't want to send
right,
um, to
yeah.
somebody,
Somebody was telling me that they were from the Shuli Network, that they were Joe the producer, and, they were trying to sell me that Shuli had a cult, he was gonna be the biggest thing, and if I wanted to enter into their world, they needed naked pictures of my wife. And I show my wife the email. She was like, "Ooh, that's sick." I mean, I'm like, "Just go along with it." I go, We're not gonna do that." But I played along with him, like back and forth for about 2 weeks. I think it was about 2 weeks, and I finally agreed to do it. But I sent pictures of me in place of it. I sent it itemized to one to Shuli, one to Bob, one to Bob, and one to Joe. And I mean, sure enough, they pixeled it out and showed it. So
um,
which
um,
could have went bad for me. I didn't realize at the time they got Alex Stein on to get his input, but Alex saved me, and that's when the friendship developed me and Alex Stein. He didn't know that someone was pretending to be them and asking me for that, so that criminal element was taken out of it by that time because I was just doing what I thought was them. If I didn't just do it like that, I could have been criminally charged.
Oh, I understand. I get it. But I have to be honest with you. You could ask me all day long for naked pictures of my
Right,
wife or myself, and
right,
I if that was the price of entry, I wasn't gonna do. I
right.
I
I
wasn't
get
gonna.
you. I get you. I
I
was pretty
wasn't.
gullible.
I wouldn't do it. Um, and then I'm not. I want to try to. I like the chat. The chat will help us ask questions, but
Mhm.
the I don't want any of the bullshit. But um, Chairman Meow says that you were in Shuli's chat for months with
Yes.
trying to get attention, and I
I
imagine
didn't
that
have to try. Anything I put in the chat room was put up on that show. Advocately, if I wrote 10 things in that chat room, Shuli put it on the board every time.
now was Shuli always did he always have super chats, or was that something that came later?
Ever since when I entered in June of 2023, they were killing it with memberships and super chats. They were the chat rooms were probably about 800-900 at the time, 600-900 I should say more. But they were making money. There's no doubt about that.
And they've really grown. They've really grown since.
8,000 memberships, paid memberships, and that's steady. People a revolving door every Friday, Saturday. They fill those memberships up, and
Yeah, I'm one of those people that um, I've had a paid membership to Shuli forever, but I've never paid for it.
I
Somebody's
paid
always
one time in the last
somebody's
17 months.
somebody's always paid for me.
Yes,
So you talked about addiction. You talked about you wanted to help other people. Now, from my understanding, from what I've heard from you before, you've only been sober about 3 years, which is a lot.
I just hit three
Don't
years
get
on
me
November
wrong, but
7th.
right. And but you also know I'm in the same place where you are, right? So you also know that there's a lot of people in that, in the rooms that think that right away they're gonna go help other people when maybe
Mm.
they need to spend more time learning, helping themselves. What was that your like how did you get sober? Did you just stop? Did you go
I
to
mean, the day that I entered to the federal courthouse to be taken into custody from probation, that I was going to prison.
now? So was it and I'm kind of joking, was it their choice or yours? I mean, could you and I don't know about prisons. Could you have continued
Yes,
using drugs in prison if you
absolutely,
wanted to?
110%.
Even in a federal prison?
110%. It's like a candy
And
store in there.
and you were in what, like not maximum but not minimum
I was
either,
in a
right?
federal camp. I was in a federal camp.
And now was that in Florida?
Yes, Coleman Federal Facility, which is the largest federal facility in all of the BOP, Bureau of Prisons.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with Eglin has a federal camp, or they used to. I don't know if they still do, but
Yeah.
it was
There's
great
about
being
6
in the
or 8 of them left, I think.
it was great being in the military there because the prisoners did all the hard work.
Right, right.
We didn't. I didn't have any. Setting up chairs. That's what they did. Washing things. That's what they did.
Yeah.
All right. So I. So what was it you were addicted to? Was it just drugs? Did you do? Was it alcohol? Was it?
Um, I wasn't a big drinker. I was for a few years. I started out with right for the hard stuff when I was about 21 years old, cocaine for about
Mhm.
12 years. And then I overdosed for the third time, and I flatlined for about 90 seconds. And they brought me back, and that's when I stopped drinking, and I got rid of cocaine, and I started staying sober. But as an addict, as long as I was, it was killing me. So I replaced it with another substance, which, okay, I'm off cocaine, but here I am. I replaced it with a drug that could be even worse for me, but I could function even better on that.
Well, it was
And
meth, right? You said it was
correct.
meth on air. You
Yes.
said it was
Correct.
meth on air.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So that's all right. So assuming that you hadn't gone to federal prison,
Mhm.
would you have stopped? I mean,
I was
were you ready to stop, or was it
yes. Yes.
or was it just you
No,
figured that was the opportunity.
it was the opportunity, but I had talked about it for about a year that I had to stop. It was debilitating myself badly. My body was. I went to a couple doctor appointments, and he tried to describe what I was doing to my insides. And he says, "You're at the time I was 50 something." He says, "Imagine you're 55 years old, but your insides are like an 85-year-old man." That's where I was.
Right. And some of the stuff is coming back to haunt you now, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, yes,
you got I saw the diabetes. I saw the feet the other day,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I heard you mention congenital heart failure, but I think you were talking about congestive heart failure.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant to say. I mean, I'm
And
not always. Yes,
yeah, so now you've got those things. We all get the so we carry the burdens of the things that we did when we were young. And what do you see yourself? How do you see yourself getting out of that?
how do I see myself? By taking it day by day, staying true to myself first and foremost, um, and just a lot of support from my family and the people that you really could call your friends, and just I've got to put one foot in front of the other and take it day by day and just continue to know that, do I want to live or do I want to die? Do I want to be around my grandkids, or do I and my wife and my children, or do I just want to not give a shit and say, screw everybody and just go,
Right.
and
But
I
don't
just
in your world, it seems to me that the uh, more people rely on you than you on other people, right?
that's been my whole life. I've always been a
You
protector.
feel like all right, you feel like you have to take care of everybody else,
Correct.
right? And so what I wonder is, at what point does that stop or does it not stop? And you put yourself first and you take care of yourself. Now look, you're married, it's obvious there's obligations there. I'm not talking about, you know, distancing your wife and not doing that. But other people and other family. You seem to become, to me, overly concerned with what's happening with situations that you don't necessarily have control over
Right.
with other people.
Right.
Now, is it is there going to come a time when you're going to be able to like put them to the side and know that you have to take care of yourself,
Well,
or
good
do you think
question.
this still will happen?
Very good question. I My sister and my youngest son has been repeatedly in my head and in my face to say, "Enough's enough. Take care of yourself. We will be fine." Uh, I've always been I've always put myself in front of everybody that I love, and will die for them. I'll take a bullet for them. I just I if my kids weren't home, if they went to a high school party on Friday nights and they're at a hotel and some of the kids are drinking, I wouldn't I couldn't sleep until my son was in the house. And he always knew if it got too rough, he could call me. And a matter of fact, one night it came, they were getting out of control. He said, "Dad, I don't want to be here, but I don't want to lose face with my friend." And I said, "I'll be right there." And I went in there as a bunch of teenage drunks, and they tried to get stupid with me, but I can be a very forceful individual and a very raging individual when it comes to my family. And
Right. I do understand that, but my watching you and having talked to you, and even when we had our uh, unintended confrontation on
right,
Ray, my question is like, well, what does Joey see planning for himself? What does Joey see? Where does he see himself? I mean, there's
right,
the old question of where do you see yourself in 5 years? But I think you're
right.
58 or 59,
I'll be 59
and
in 2 weeks. Yes,
so 5 years is a very long time in
yes,
that.
it is.
What what are some of like you know the immediate things you can do? Like
Well,
I'm sorry. I view your life as very difficult. This is what we've talked
it
about
has
this
been.
before.
I've had some difficult
Right.
times in my life.
But I
Yes,
don't know, but I think a lot of it is self-created,
absolutely,
because
110%.
because and even today.
You're
So,
you're not wrong.
all right, and not to pick on you, but I will. I'll bring it up because I think it's a good example.
Okay.
The hurricane. thing,
Mhm.
right? Where you were
Right.
supposed to leave town and you didn't leave
Right.
town, and you stayed, and then you got caught making up a story about why you
Mhm.
did. Um, you know, I it to me, it just would have been so much easier to just tell the truth from the beginning.
Right.
Is it like, what is it about you that makes you feel like it was it did you feel like it wouldn't be accepted, or
No.
that you were gonna
No,
let
had nothing to
people
do with none of that.
down, or what was that?
It was based on what Shuli had the ultimatum Shuli gave me that night before, is why I lied.
All right, but all right, so and that ultimatum was if you didn't leave town, he wasn't gonna let you on the show.
Or talk to me ever again.
Okay. But you've been caught in the past, right? When we lie, we get caught. I
I and
and
90
Joey,
other people in this Dabbleverse have been caught lying on a regular basis, so I don't
I
lie
no, I
regularly.
no, I don't. Look, I'm not. I'm just trying. I'm trying to get to a point here, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Which is, um, I understand. I mean, I understand uh, why you thought that, why you thought you needed to do it. But you have to know, like everything else, you're gonna get caught, right? We're all gonna get caught. And
I
and,
got
and I'm
myself
not
caught because I turned the light on it for a second there, and it was enough for someone that could had the capabilities. If I didn't do that, the lie would have been wrong, but nobody would have known it.
no,
And
you it,
thought I
it
came
would
on
have
right away and I addressed
but
it.
it would have happened. But yeah, but when you addressed it, you got mad at the people that caught you,
I
not
wasn't
at
mad at
not at
them.
you not at you. Well, you were mad at Rocco, I'll tell you that.
It
But
appeared that we were mad at Rocco, but Rocco and I remain very good friends.
yeah, no, I got it. I just there's because it feels to me like there's a lot of stuff that the trouble things happen to you because and your interest, like the people's interest in you in the Dabbleverse, it grows and it fades and it grows and it fades. I don't know if it all comes back. I don't know, if you lose 100 people, maybe will you get back 75, or would you get back
I've
those
already done
100?
that. I've done that
But
already.
there's right, I know. But what's the I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what's the goal here? What are you trying, like, what do you want to accomplish? What is
I
in
just
in in the Dabbleverse, business wise, not necessarily, not necessarily. I'm not talking necessarily personally, but
right,
business wise, what do you think is going to be a success? What is this? What how does Joey? If Joey had to give me a list of 5 things that
right.
defined his success, what would those things be?
Well, I mean, again, I am talked about probably if not as more than Stutter and John, whether it's hate or like or love. I'm a topic everywhere. I do bring it and entertain people. Uh, I want to. And when you came at me before about why don't you learn and let the people that are trying to help you, and you're going on and on. And I'm just saying, you see, you guys got to understand that these shows, a lot of it is all works. You understand? Amongst all these shows, you understand? I mean, from what I could tell you, a lot of them could be sitting at a table pulling the strings and laughing at everybody. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm in. There's no doubt. Me, I made myself to every show. I made myself be wanted on every show. I did that.
Right, but does it
Can't do
but
that.
does that but
Fake talent
does
can
it
do that,
but does it benefit you? That's my question.
but it does
Does
benefit me.
Okay, how? Tell me how.
You could turn on any show and at any point Joey sees coming out of their mouth. And as long as people are talking about me, people are going to want to watch or come and watch me. Whether they
But
like it, whether it's horseshit, they're going to still be there. It's still going to be a thrill, and somebody's going to be getting joy out of it, or somebody's going to be able to be with skills to bounce on me to make them content for their channel. So
right, but is getting joy out of it enough? I mean, or it seems to me that you want to make money at doing this,
yes,
right?
at this point I do
And
now. Yes, yes.
and sort of being a clown prince, where it's the and this is the Stuttering John story, right?
Hmm.
Is there's an entire industry around Stuttering John, and everybody's making money, but Stuttering
Right,
John isn't.
right.
And you know Do you want to be that guy? I mean, do you want to be the
No,
guy that's
first of all, I'm not
famous
stuttering, John. I
but
have a
poor?
heart.
And I know you're not, and I'm not comparing you to him. What I
Mhm.
am what I am trying to say is that everybody's making money off that
Correct.
guy, but that guy is not making money. And
Right.
I see that similarly happening here, right?
We did
Like
all right.
you
We're doing
say,
okay.
I'm popular, but what's okay? I mean, what would be success for you?
Well, what would be a success? Brennan and Shuley numbers would be successful money wise. You understand? But I don't see myself ever topping to that, and I don't
Okay,
care
but
if I do. Uh, but I'll be honest with you, not to brag or sit here and smirk at people. I've done 2,500 a month for 2 months in a row. You understand? I had those months. I've had months where I only did $500. I've had months where I did $900. But the summer was good to me. It was very good to me, and I was very happy with that. But I shared all that money with everybody that participated on my channel. I even broke up the membership money and gave everybody a piece of that. I'm not stingy. I pay on time. I pay people what if they're part of a show with me, they get 50%. So
yeah, but aren't they coming? But I, no offense to him, nobody's going to your show to see Lou,
oh,
right?
that's fine.
And I don't right. And so is Lou worth 50%?
To me, yes.
Okay, and then but that's because you're you and you feel like you need to take care of him and to and then my interpretation, I'm sorry, I don't mean to put words in your
No,
mouth,
no, go ahead.
but it's like,
You're doing
but
fine.
you seem like the kind of guy, it's like when you've got it, you want to give it away,
I've
right?
always been like that my whole life.
I got it, but it hasn't served you well, has it?
But I don't. I mean, what do you mean serve me well? I pay my bills. I eat every day. I make sure that people that need help, I help them. I mean, this is the first time I ever lived in a small apartment my whole life. I never owned property. I never wanted to buy property. I was always traveling, but I've always had a nice home. I've always had a nice car. I've always maintained. But my problem was after I paid bills, took care of my family, fed the kids, bought them clothes, put them through school, is I didn't save a penny for my future or my old age. I just was
Okay.
very reckless with money, and the rest went on my habits. I was first and foremost, I was a degenerate gambler since I was 9 years old. You know, that was my biggest vice until the drugs set in 20, at 20 when I was 21. I've been a gambler since I was 9 years old, and I quit that cold turkey. I dabble once in a while. We go, casinos not too far. I'll go and play a penny machine. I don't go on a regular basis. Sometimes I get a thing in the mail with a free comp dinner to come in to draw you in, and they'll give you some free play. I just, it just, I've grown out of that. I'm content where I'm at. If I didn't do this, I paid into Social Security for 33 years. I had to take it early because of my health. Okay, but everything, I don't get free government money. What I would start collecting at 62 is what I get early. I paid in for 33 years. I've never missed my taxes. I've never cheated the government of that. I went to prison
Right.
because I lied. That was it.
Look, I understand all that, and we're not here to talk about the lying thing, but this is I'm trying to avoid the chat, but Tom Gully puts it served him well in terms of respect and friendship. That's worth just as much as money.
Absolutely.
Ah, I disagree. I
Well, I mean,
disagree because
that's fine. There's nothing
as
wrong with
I've
you
no no
disagreeing.
no and listen because I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think you can do both,
Okay.
right? I think you can take care of people and you can give away money, but the reality is that you have to take care of yourself because if you're not taking care of yourself, then you really can't take care of other people.
What are you
All right.
talking about? A great hot sugar mama. She takes care of me.
Well, what would she be like if you weren't there, though?
But I
Right?
am here.
No, but you are okay. But are you? Do you? Um, this is something I have with my wife. Okay, my
Okay.
wife
Go ahead.
makes significantly more money than I do.
Right.
Right, and it took me a long and I don't do bad, but it took me a long time
Accept that.
to adjust to that because I felt like it was my job to pay
I always did
for
too.
everything and to do everything. Um,
I'll make an
but
example for you if you let me do this real
go
quick.
ahead.
I
Sure.
was married for 25 years prior to marrying Christina.
Uh-huh.
And I was the sole supporter. I was the working force. I was the one. I felt I was always a man raises his family. He puts the bread on the table, and the woman takes care of the kid. I done that with my first marriage, my second marriage, with my first set of three kids. I always worked and provided. When I met Christina, and the very first time we moved in together, and she came in on bill day and said, "Here's half the money." I looked at her like she was nuts. I didn't know how to accept that, and I told her, "What are you doing?" She says, I don't need a man. I love you. That's why I want you. But I will pay half of everything. And that's how we've lived the last 10 years. That woman
Okay.
is incredible. I've never had a woman come up to me and say, go pay the electric bill, go pay the water bill. Never. And I didn't
Right.
think it was proper for a woman to have to do that. But she insisted that I don't need a man. I can take care of myself. But I love you. And we're not 50-50. We're 100-100. We walk together. And that's how we live, you know.
No, I got it. But you've said um that you had this meth addiction. I'm going to not use meth. I'm just going to say you've
It's
had an
okay. It
addiction.
don't matter. They know what they
But
know.
I know, but I don't. It's like I don't want to get caught up in the actual substance. I kind of want to. It's more about
Okay.
the action. So you said that um, you were addicted. You spent a lot of time in addiction.
A lot of
Um,
time.
from what I've heard, you have or not from what I've heard, but from listening to you,
Mhm.
um, gambling might have also been an addiction, which to me of all the addictions,
It's
I
the
think
worst of the
it's
worst.
the worst of the worst. And the
Yes.
reason why I think that is because what happens is with drinking uh, or drugs or you're hurting yourself,
Absolutely.
right?
110%.
But with gambling, you're hurting everyone around
Yes. Well,
you,
I mean,
right?
gambling is to me by far the worst addiction anybody could have. I said that it outweighs any drug addiction, any alcohol addiction. Gambling will take everything from you, as crack cocaine did. You know, it took everything from people. But
right?
gambling is
All
a
right.
serious thing, and
And
it causes
so
you a lot.
have you come to terms with, all these years of addiction and having kids? You said you had one that
No, I
that
have more. No, I had three kids at my first, two at my second, and then two stepdaughters when I married. I've got a total of, and one of them passed away. I have five biological children from two women.
okay.
Christina has two girls, well, one now, and then between the two of us, we have 13 grandkids.
Now, how do you feel about having had all of these like problems, personal dilemmas,
Mhm.
and raising kids? I mean, did it affect them negatively as well,
I
or
never ever brought any negativity into my home. Never brought a drug into my home around my kids. My son found out when he was in his 20s because of a spiteful divorce, and he was in his 20s that his mother chose to tell things about me that I would have never said about her, you understand? And he
no?
came to me like a gentleman and he asked me straight up, "Is it true?" And was I gonna lie to him? I go, "You need to sit down." And I answered every question to him as
Yeah,
honest as I can. So,
right. And that's not really what I'm really talking about is like if you're spending money gambling or if you're spending money on drugs,
right,
right? That money is not coming home. It's not going to the kids,
right.
right?
But I
So
made a lot of money on the streets. I made a lot of money everywhere I went. If I always replaced it with more money. I had to. I had to
okay.
have it. I had habits.
So okay, and then did the kids get that? I mean, what was what was like did your kids did they go to college? Did they
My
do
oldest
you
daughter
know
is a college graduate. She has a master's degree. I don't never bring her name up. I never talked about her in the podcast. Uh,
yeah.
and
I don't want to dox anybody. I'm not
right,
asking you don't have to go into too much detail, but like me as a kid, my dad was a great guy. Didn't have any addictions per se, except maybe to food,
mhm,
but he was a horrible provider. And he had a lot of thoughts in his head about what he was going to do. There was always he's going to do this next. There was a lot of getting into something and then it not following through with it later, and it really negatively affected us. I mean, I joined the military when I was 17. um and I basically I did fine. I did my 4 years and I was good, and I was in the reserves after that, and it was about I was supposed to do about 2 years, and about I don't know, maybe with 6 or 8 months left, I just said fuck it, and walked away and didn't care what. And basically, and that's the story of my life, was up until in my 30s,
Right.
was I was a complete fuck up. My credit score, we saw the whole John credit score thing coming up, you know, um, was awful, and I used to blame everybody else for my problems.
Right.
And so, but what I wonder is like, what effect do you think that this stuff had on their lives, and in their growing up? And
Well,
have you been able to make amends with, like, do you talk to all your kids?
yes,
Are
I do.
you able to, you know, are they able to understand what happened and what these addictions can do?
Yes, yes. Like I said, my oldest daughter is very intelligent. Got wonderful kids. How she raises them, they don't swear around them. They never done anything bad around them. I never did anything bad in front of my kids. My ex chose to tell our children some things that, again, she should have probably never told them. It was useless to tell them anything from our younger years. She did, and I can't change that.
Right, but I guess what I'm trying to say, Joey, is, remember the old Catholic Church?
Mhm,
I went to Catholic school, and it was like you had the sins of commission and the sins of
right,
omission.
right.
Do you feel like the 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 gambling and the street stuff and everything else was an omission? Do you feel like you let your kids down, or you let your ex-wife down, or your family down by doing those things?
Um, of course, there's times in my life I feel like I could have done better, and that the money that I was blowing on drugs and gambling and alcohol and women and be, out on the streets and in clubs. Of course, it affected where it could have been even a better home. I never hit my children. I didn't believe it. I was beat as a child, very badly, severely beat every day. Um, I would never lay a hand on my children. I always wanted my kids knew that they had the best father they could. The only problem that I think that I affected them is there was a lot of arguing and yelling at times with my ex-wives that
Yeah.
they probably didn't need to hear. Um, that's the only backlash that they got. They never they went to events, they went out to outings with friends, we did a lot of family stuff on a regular basis. We went to amusement parks, we went to fancy restaurants, we went to shows together, we did all the Christmas stuff, I went to look at lights in neighborhoods. We did everything. I did everything I
Right.
could. Never let them live in the ghetto like I did. I never wanted that for them. And one day, my son came home, my youngest son, and he told me, "Dad, I love you so much that I idolize you and I want to be like you." I immediately turned to him. He never seen me so serious, and I told him to sit down. And I told him, and I yelled at his face and said, "Don't ever utter those words again out of your mouth. Do not be me. One, you cannot do it. And two, it's not a good idea. I want you to be better than me. I want you to learn to be something like. Don't ever make me your idol. I'm not what you think I am. And please don't ever say that again." And he finally understood what I meant as he's getting ready to start. He's in his 30s and finally settling down to have a family. Hopefully, I get a grandson out of this. I'm praying for that. But he's responsible, but he was the one that he idolized me. He went everywhere with me. He worked with me in baseball. He saw a lot of good things. And the only thing that he ever said that he did dislike was I made him very nervous when I was angry. Very nervous. And it carried all the way into his adulthood that if anybody's yelling, he jumps and he gets very nervous. And I regret that very deeply for that. So
So, my mom was an alcoholic, and I had a very poor upbringing, and I spent a lot of time in my life trying to be. I wound up being a caretaker of people. You know, that was like my thing. I wanted to take care of everybody, and while I did that, um, Schmuel wasn't, I wasn't taking care of myself, and I idolized my father as well. Now he died when I was in my early 30s, and
Sorry to hear
it
that.
wasn't till after that, that I started to realize that maybe he had done some things wrong, and I was heading, on that same path, and I was lucky enough to break the cycle, right? And so you said you have 5 kids.
Yeah.
Is it are they breaking the cycle, or
Let's put it this way. I
do
got
you see
three.
yourself do you see you in them? Like do you, look,
Right.
we all go back and we wish things, but are you like wishing that, hey, maybe you had done something differently?
Oh, there's a lot of things I wish I could have changed. Absolutely, 110%. But what's the sense of second guessing myself? As long as I know, and that's probably why I'm so much of a protector to always want to help everybody because I
Mhm.
watch and constantly stay involved with my kids, the ones that are especially here. My kids are all adults. I got a daughter who's profoundly deaf, who unfortunately went crazy one night and tried to kill Christina. She almost did it. And in the process of her stabbing Christina, I kept jumping into the knife so Christina wouldn't take the knife, and I got slashed up pretty good. But
Right.
Christina physically died in the chopper. She did what she sorted out to do. Now, why did she do it? That's the only thing I don't know why. The speculation is it happened 12 hours after the divorce papers were final from her mother.
Uh-huh. No,
You know,
but
so
all right. I guess what this is part of what got me interested in all this was when you talked about addiction, and you got sober, you know, 3 years ago. A big part of the sobriety thing is making amends, right? To
yeah,
go back and and make amends to those people.
right,
And the second part of that is to understand um, what our part in the problem
right.
was. So I listened to stuff, and some of the things, the hurricane thing,
Mhm,
I'll go back to.
right.
Um, that's the kind of stuff that sort of frustrates me, because I don't know, I can't figure out um I can't figure out what you're doing to change that stuff. I think you're a talent. I think you're good at this. I think you can be successful at it. But it just feels like there's something missing. There's something going on here that whatever it is, and I is is maybe not understanding your
I
part
think the missing
in much
puzzle
of
was that I
this.
didn't put enough effort into about what I wanted to do. I think the key was I had to put more effort and care more.
Right, and but one of the things that we talked about, particularly on the night that you and Ray have, is there seems to me to be a lack of focus, right?
Sometimes,
It's like,
sometimes.
no, I don't think sometimes. I think a lot of times. I think particularly when it comes to your show,
Mhm,
right? We've talked about that.
mhm,
Um, and I pulled the IRL stuff out because
mhm,
I know that that's what Tukey was suggesting,
mhm.
and I needed a place to start from. But
Okay.
I watch your shows.
Mhm.
Okay, I see you all the time, but I don't know where are you going with it? Like I
So
that's
you're one of them people that see that I jump from one extreme to another. I'll start a story, jump to another story, and jump to another story. That's been my
Yeah,
trademark since day one.
but not even stories, just not even stories, but just the the doing like the doing of the show. Like, is there a focus to the show? Is there do you know are you, do you prepare it? I mean, one of the things that somebody brought up to me was that you get up every day and you do a stream,
Right.
right? Most days, which
Mhm.
is laudable, which is uh I think fantastic. And if you listen to Blind Mike at all,
I like my mic.
he makes a joke. He makes a joke about Steel Toe, who
Mhm.
gets up, at for whatever we want to say about Steel Toe. He
He's
gets up at
prepared.
4 o'clock in the morning and he does that show.
Right.
Whether or not he's prepared, but do you think that just getting up and sort of winging it with Lou, or just talking and telling these stories is does that give you a future in this in the podcasting
Well, my opinion
realm?
to this is, let me ask you a question. What have you seen?
Sure.
Have you seen a big change, different from 6 months ago to now? Do you feel that I'm more prepared and more taking more responsibility and putting more effort into the show? I mean, 'cause I think there's a big turnaround from 6 months ago to today.
I do, but I don't see focus. I don't see I I
Well,
I don't
what do you
see
see focus? What
well, because it was all right.
specific?
So it's like to me, focus would be, well, I'm going to concentrate, and these are the areas that I realize that I'm good at,
Right.
right? And these are the areas that maybe I'm not so good at.
Mhm.
But money is always going to be right. The what's the word that I'm looking for? Making how much money you make is
Right.
in super chats and doing the thing. I mean, that seems to be something that you want, right? And
Oh,
so
I think,
I
yeah,
don't I don't feel like you're to me, and look, and I don't mean to, this is not, I'm not trying to judge. I'm just trying to
I'm not saying you
understand.
are. You're fine. You're
All
doing
right.
fine.
But I don't see it's like I, when you say doing better, to me, you're doing better because you're not a lunatic. You're
Right.
not yelling. You're not
Am I though?
um,
Am I a lunatic, or
screaming,
am I
screaming
not, or
all the
am I?
time. Oh, I don't think you're a lunatic, but I think that your behavior was sort of lunatical, if that's even a word, right? You're easily pissed off. You let the these guys who comment on you or comment on your life. Now look, if somebody said something about your kids, I can see you getting upset about that or calling Christina names. That part, look, everybody's going to react to that differently, but it's like some simple stuff. I mean, you really um will, and again, I hate to go there, but it's easy is to go back to the hurricane thing. I mean, you really got pissed off
Did I
at
though?
at at the yes, you did. You
You
it,
believe
it
I was
le-
sincerely pissed off?
I think you were. Are you saying to me it's just a character and you're
I'm saying a lot of things I do today, I'm putting a lot of efforts to do a lot of acting in a lot of things. Was I really upset like you think I was? Probably not. Did I play the role because people like to see me tenfold? Probably.
but then that doesn't but I guess my thing is then
Why do
I,
people watch me? What's the biggest thing why people watch me? They want to see if they can push my buttons to see how am I going to explode. Is that not true?
yeah, but it doesn't, but does it serve you? But does that serve you? I mean, yeah, it's great. It's like
Times I've laid
it's
in bed
almost
and I sit there and laugh at the chat room after they got me riled up and got what they wanted, and I sit back and I laugh about it.
right. But Joey, let's be honest. You have had you've
I've
had a
got
couple of
seriously
you
angry, yes, several times. Yes,
but
I
you've
have.
had a couple of months where like you put the you did the $2,500 and you
Hmm.
had the problem is with those super chats, that money it can go up and then it goes
It's
down.
not a guaranteed unless you are a professional comedian or a professional actor or somebody that's done something and does field. It's if I'm going to bank my life on that, I would be pretty stupid. I have a guaranteed income that takes care of me and my family. I worked for that. I paid for that, and for my old retirement age. I have that. This is just learning. I want to get better at this. I'm enjoying meeting the different people I've met to feel and them to see a side of me that he ain't a bad guy. He knows how to carry himself. He's not really so bad like he is on stream. I've met a lot of good people that I enjoy now. I've got a pretty solid chat room. They're pretty loyal people. It only might be 50 or 60 people, but they're there from the time I start whenever I air to the end.
and
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 pretty loyal.
and right and look, I definitely understand that, but my question is more of um are those 50, is that going to be enough? Are you going to make money from those? I mean, I know you develop friends. We all develop friends
Right.
in this world, right?
Are you asking me
I
if if obviously it's got to be about money at some point? You is this what I is this how I think I'm gonna? If it's nice to make the money, it's nice to make it. I'm grateful. It's nice that people show love. But if I didn't make it, is that gonna make me be to say walk away? I originally didn't come in this to fucking worry about money. You understand? I didn't care. I never respected money. That's first and foremost about me. I don't care
but
about money.
well, it's a big, but it is a big concern. It's got to be. I mean, with your car, right? Like, you
Right.
need to find another car,
I could go buy a
and
car and make payments, but why make the payment that I'm probably not going to afford and wind up getting it repoed anyhow? That'd be stupid. So it's better for me to save. I didn't come up with this car thing. OJ and Bob's the one that came up with this whole thing that they wanted. They got a couple big donors that want to buy me a car. Will I take that car? Absolutely. Will I be grateful? Will I take care of that car for the rest of my life? I will. But don't fault me like I'm grifting for a car. I'm not.
no, and I'm not saying you're missing the point.
Oh,
I'm not saying the grifting, and we're talking about donors. What I'm saying to you is, wouldn't it be better if you could figure out what you're doing, focus on it, prep on
yes,
it,
and I've been
and
trying to do that.
let me finish, and
But
make, and know what your super chat. I'm just saying super chats, but know what you're going to be making per month on on YouTube, because it seems
well,
to
here's a
me that.
fact that I don't know if you understand this with the government.
All right.
Until I'm 62 and can switch over to regular Social Security, I'm still getting disability insurance security that I paid into when you pay Social Security. So I'm limited to what I can make at this point,
Okay.
or I'll lose my benefits. Now, when I'm
Okay.
62 and I switch, then I can make money, and they can't as long as I'm paying taxes. They can't give me a cap. I'm on a cap. I can only make so much money a month. You understand? Or I'll blow my guaranteed income. I got 3 more years before I can go and switch that to where they consider me legally retired, and I go to get just straight Social Security. So right now it's Social Security disability insurance that I paid into over the years of me paying to paying taxes and Social Security. But I'm limited to what I can make. There is a cap on what you can make. Otherwise, they take away your benefits. I've got the best health care that comes with that. Everything's paid 100%. Everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna blow that.
No, and I'm not asking you to, but at the same time, how much, I don't want to know how much money that is a month, but the reality is that if you're limited to what you could earn and you would lose that,
Right.
right? Can't you, wouldn't it be better to actually make that money and not have to worry about that? Okay, and the reason why, where this comes up is, I'm a little bit older than you,
I thought you were
and
about the same age as me. I heard you say
and
you were.
I paid, um I paid into Social Security all these years,
Right.
and I'm kind of a, I guess, at the top of their in the earning thing, and I think
Good.
that when I if I were to retire today, they'd only pay me like 3 grand a month.
Well, can you live on 3 grand a month? I can.
No, I can't.
Okay. Well,
I,
I can. I can because I never really had the concept of caring for money. 3 grand a month. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live pretty good. Now I
are
won't
you?
quite
I
get
mean,
3 grand, but I'll
seriously,
be
are you?
close to 2 grand a month, and I can still live
Oh,
on 2 grand with no habits. I can make that happen.
right, but it feels to me like that's a forced thing. I mean, what kind of life do you get if, let's say, look, for
How's it
argument's
a
sake,
forced thing?
okay?
You work your whole life. This is
Let's
what
say
you
you
get when you
made six.
retire. You get your Social
Yeah, but
Security.
let's say you made 6 grand a month, right?
Right.
You'd be able to travel a little bit. You'd be able to spend more time with
I
with
agree.
your
I agree.
grandkids.
I
You
agree.
wouldn't have to, because it seems to me that there's a lot of sweating that goes on. It's like, you're good. You've got everything seems to work right until it doesn't. So
Right.
if there's and we could use the car as an example. The car breaks down, you need a new car,
Mhm.
right? I don't want you going and buying a piece of shit, even if you
No.
had to make payments on it,
Mhm.
because you're making payments on it, and then the transmission goes or something like that, and then that just screws up the whole thing. So
Right.
the question to me would be, one, how much money I would number one, I would ask myself, how much money would I need to earn to replace all of that,
Right.
the
And
Social
I
Security and all of
right.
that? And then also, what's the max if you want to stay on that Social Security and whatnot? What's the max you could earn?
Right.
And you're also talking about, you said you're going to be 59, right? So you got
Right.
3 years till you're 62.
Correct.
Um, what can you build now so that when you turn 62 and you can make whatever you want to make?
Right.
Um, where's the building of that? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of like future forward thinking here.
Probably right, but 6 months ago when I talk to myself a lot, I'll have a lot of discussions with myself. I don't know if you think that's weird or if that's strange, but I do have a lot of conversations with myself to figure out things. It's a therapy process I go through, and I actually answer myself too. So, but um, I do a lot of deep thinking. I always have. I was always a thinker. I always was a thinker. I when I was doing things that were probably not the proper lane to go in my life, I already knew ahead. The thinking process was I already know what I'm walking into. I already know how bad the outcome can be. But do I still take that road? I was always a daredevil kind of guy. If I had 5,000 in my pocket, I would put a quarter of a tank of gas and see if I could make it to a certain point before I run out instead of fill the tank up. That's how I used to challenge myself. All my life I've been like that. You understand? So um do I enjoy what I do? I enjoy being on the air. Pat Dixon said it best. You got to give him two things. He ain't camera shy. He don't give a shit about any consequences when he goes after somebody, and I don't. I don't care if I lost my channel today. I'm not going to go in a depression and cry. It's done. See you later. I don't. It don't matter. But I care enough about the people that have showed the support now, and that was the turn for me. I had to get out there and meet people to see can can I be likable by people in this Dabbleverse? Can they see me other than what people have portrayed me to be? And people did take interest in me and became friends and talking on the telephone and on a regular basis and showed interest. And I, for that, because I'm not a jerk off. I don't just spit in people's face. I'm not that type of guy. I have compassion. I don't start a lot of trouble, but I am my own worst nightmare. Any downfall in my life was caused by one thing and one thing only: the guy I look at in the mirror every day. You understand? I'm very smart when to realize I'm not a guy that pushes blame on anybody. When I'm wrong, I'll come and I'll admit I'm wrong and I'll say I'm sorry. I'm nowhere like Stuttering John. I worked with John on a daily basis. I had to deal with John on a daily basis. I had to take his phone calls early in the morning. I had to listen to him. And
Right.
my thing to him was this: John, if you duck a little bit and just show a little compassion and stop making it all about yourself, I think you'll be okay. He wouldn't take that advice. He wouldn't. You know what he would do? He'd come back in 15 minutes. I got to talk on the internet. Because I would derail him. I would tell him to not go that route, and he didn't want me doing that. But when he
Right.
went to areas he shouldn't have went to, that crossed the line with me.
Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, I don't. I want to try to avoid stuttering John talk because I want
Right.
to
I'm just
I want to focus on you. I'm a deep thinker too. It it's spent a lot of time doing that, and then one day I was listening to was either listening to it or reading a book, and it was the Tony Robbins thing, and Tony
yeah.
one of the things that he said that changed the way that I thought about stuff is he said everybody makes decisions. We all make decisions. We all make these. We all say we're going to change, but the
Right.
reality is most people don't do it. So
True.
what I'm asking you here is, okay, you've seen how Stuttering John's life's going. It's going in the toilet, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm asking Joey C is, what is Joey C doing? Like what concrete steps? You don't really have to tell us, but like what concrete steps are you doing to change this?
Well, first and
Right?
foremost, I need to change my habits of my health and how to get myself in a healthy place. And second of all, I've got to learn to just accept the things I can't control. I have to really study and focus on that because nobody can control everything. That's
But
number.
are you
That's one.
Okay. Are you a guy that doesn't accept help? You know,
I don't
I
like
mean,
it's like I'm very you know me pretty good. I don't I don't seek for help. I don't ask people. I don't go crying to people for help. You understand? I don't even though people really want to help her, they know that this will give me my peace of mind and get me out of. I don't accept that very well because I'm a prideful person, and I'll go out and I'll do whatever day. I'm not afraid of work. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'm never have been. Health wise, I'm not gonna be no good to focus on working anything. I can work, and then 6 months ago when I started getting involved to meet people, and I said, you know what, I can do this. I can really put effort in this. And you're right when you sit there that I have an ability in your eyes that I don't listen to the people that truly want to help me, but I do listen to them. And I got a couple compliments the other day saying it's finally good to see you taking advice from people that really care. I do. I might not do it at the moment, but I do listen to everybody's on their advice, and a lot of people give me a lot of great advice, and I've implemented that in my life. But first and foremost, I've got to care. I've got to care about the show and the structure of the show. I'm at the point with Lou. Lou, I understand you got this hate. You're bitter like I was. You're angry like I was, even more. But Lou, don't you think if we come out a little bit better and you just show yourself and just let some things go and let's focus? Lou's got talent. Lou's been on the internet for 15 years. He was originally with Jim Grindle and those guys, who I think is outstanding, but those guys never took the route to be somebody because they don't care. You understand? But Jim Grindle
right,
is a great voice, you know?
but I've been right, but look, I had somebody say to me the other day to criticize me that they've been doing this, they've been on the internet for 15 years, and this is the way it is, this is the way it's been done. But
Right.
in 15 years, they're neither monetized, uh, and
Correct.
and they want to be in the entertainment biz, and that's not happening.
Let
But
me ask you a question, Joe.
I'm really not talking about, but I'm not talking about financial help.
Did
I'm
you ever
talking
think I'd be
about,
monetized? Did you ever think when I first entered into your life, did you ever think I would ever get monetized?
I got to be honest, I didn't even, it never crossed my mind.
Okay, because a lot of
I
people
don't,
thought I would never be monetized and I would fail it all in.
no, and I'm glad you're monetized, but we're talking more than money here, right?
Right, and I don't, and I'm not making money
But
about the first
right, we're
most part.
talking
So
more about when I'm talking about help, I'm talking about, um, with me, it's very hard when somebody gave me advice
right,
on how to approach my life, how to live my
right,
life. Like when I got sober,
right.
I
How long you
thought
been
that
sober, man? I ask?
8 years. I
Well,
thought I was
congratulations.
the smartest guy in the room, and I thought they were all a bunch of losers.
Me
And I
too. I
wouldn't
was the same
and
way.
I wouldn't listen to anybody. And
I just
but
told you I'm my
another
worst home enemy. That tells you everything right there.
Yeah, but in another part of my life, I was very lucky. I was 34 years old, and I had a credit score that you would have to go down in the hole to find it,
Mine
and
went as low as 369, pal, at one
and
time in my
I
life. So.
have right, but and I used to blame the credit card people. When they would call me looking for money, I would be mad at them for having to call me, and but I learned I learned to take responsibility, but I also started to learn from people who were more successful than
Right,
me at certain parts
right.
of life, and that's one of the reasons why my marriage, I'm happily married,
God bless you.
which was probably that was the big reason for me to get sober, because I had been married
Beautiful.
with my third marriage, and after 4 years, I wanted out because she was a pain in the ass. Everything she did annoyed the shit out of me. I wasn't
Right,
looking at me and the things that I was doing.
right.
So what I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, besides money, besides monetization and that stuff, I I feel like there's probably a lot of people who like you and want to help you,
Right.
but that would require you to change
And
much
I'm
of
willing to
who you
change any
are.
way I need to be a
But
better
you but
person.
right, but we talked about, from the very beginning, from when I first became aware of you back on the Shuley thing, you were going to get your health straightened out,
Right.
right? And now
Yeah.
here we are. I don't know, is it 12 months later? Is it 18 months later? I don't know how long it is.
No,
And you're
I did.
saying, well, I got to get my health straightened out. I got to do this. So it didn't happen,
I
right?
backfired. It did happen, but it started happening for it made it 6 months where I was doing it, and I lost 35 pounds, and I was getting more positive, and I was focusing, and I was trying to surround myself around people. Let me tell you something. The best thing I ever did was putting Kai Brancaccio with me on my channel. That man is a brilliant genius. That man, I've met a lot of smart individuals. That man is a genius and
Well,
gave me a lot of
yeah,
pep
I don't,
talks.
right. I'm so, unfortunately, I really don't know who that is, but I guess what I'm thinking about is like, I saw the feet picture, and, early in my life, I told you I was in the military. And when I was in
Right.
the military, I was a medic. And the first hospital I worked at was in Florida, and there were a lot of military retirees that we took care of. And the people that came in the hospital all the time were the guys that could not get their shit together. Like, they knew that drinking beer and eating pretzels was going to fuck up their diabetes, was going to make their heart problems worse.
Yep.
And yet they would do it over and over and over again.
Right.
So, and that's an example like of a cycle. And so what I wonder here is like, is 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 it with you that like there's this cycle of you get started, right? But then it just falls off. And then by the time you get it back, now instead of, being at ground level starting,
Right.
you're now digging out
Right.
from, like, instead of being on the third floor, you're in the basement. Now you got to
Basement again.
figure out how to get back to the third
Right.
floor and start from there. But as we age, it gets harder and harder to get out of
Absolutely.
that basement, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and I apologize. This sounds like I'm lecturing, and I'm not.
No,
I
you're
just
doing fine. I'm enjoying
I
this.
just I'm because my concerns, like, just seeing you as a human being and a person, there stuff that I saw and stuff that I've seen, I don't understand. Like when I say I think your life is hard, it's like, if I want to go buy an Apple Watch, for
Mhm.
argument's sake, I can go do that. It's not a
Mhm.
problem. Like,
Right.
it's not a problem for me.
Right. Mhm.
Um, and if I want to do something special, like we're going to go away for a couple of weeks
Mhm.
next month, I can do that, and I
Right.
can get to it. I can get to enjoy my life,
Right.
and it feels like you're stuck in sort of this eternal struggle, and
Okay.
and and but I think, and I wouldn't be having this conversation if I didn't think you were able to overcome that,
Right.
right? Like, if you were just some fucking loser,
Right.
I would just turn my head and walk away.
Right.
That's
I
just
get
the
it.
way he is. But I
Right.
don't think that. So
Thank you.
what I'm wondering is like, um, you know, what's the plan? Like, what's the deal? It's not enough to say, um, it's not enough to say I need to get healthy, right? There has to, one, be a plan to do it,
There
and
is a
two, there
plan,
has to be, there
and I'm
action, but we have, but we have to take action. And then
right.
the other thing we have to do is when we slip, right?
Right.
When we fall down, we've got to learn to get up instead
Right.
of being down there, cursing the world.
Right.
So, like, what's the game plan with you? So you've said, okay, I can only make so much money because I'll lose my disability.
Let's free and forget about money. I told you money. I'm not even making it a concern.
But money has to. But Joey, money has. This is the thing, man. Money has to be a concern,
But it
because
don't.
it's. But it does. But
But
it
it don't.
does.
That's
But it.
you. Be honest with you. That's you listening too much to the government and letting them control your life.
No, the government doesn't listen. The government
Yes, they
doesn't.
do.
The only way the government controls my life is basically every dollar I make, they get 50 cents of.
Are you afraid of the government?
But
You
no,
fear the government?
no.
Okay, good. Because I don't either.
I don't. I don't fear the government. I'm not a fan of the government. I'm one of them old
Thank
school,
you.
lefties of,
I'm a
my
lefty
favorites.
too. That's good to
My
know.
my favorite stories were when, these guys would, sit around the Pentagon and, holding hands trying to levitate it. Like, I thought that shit was hilarious. But that's not. But money is. We can poo-poo money
Right.
all we want, but it's important. And if you have it, and we're not talking about a lot, but if you have it, you don't struggle. And the
Right. I
problem
get
with
what you're
not
saying. I
and
understand
the
what you're
problem with not having it is that then everything costs
saying.
more. You know, if
I
you got a poor credit
If
score,
you're asking
you're
me if I died tomorrow, can I bury myself? No. The answer would be no.
right. So then, if so, what's this? So what? Then my question would be, well, one, why not? And two, what would you do to change? Like, what are you going to do to change that? Like, what are you going to do to get um Joey C to be comfortable in life?
Okay. Well, if
Eh,
you let me explain, I think you interrupted me about 5 times.
Go ahead.
And
All right. I'm sorry. I'll
you
stop.
didn't let me. You're seeing me going in an area, but I'm not. If you just let me explain this to you,
Okay. Go
I
ahead.
do take a lot of things seriously. I'm not a big guy that laughs a lot and care about joking. That was never my forte. I understand it. I understand laughter is a key to being very healthy. It can help you very in your health. And I get that. I get the whole Dabbleverse thing. Met a lot of unique individuals in this Dabbleverse that are quirky, strange, but I get it. I'm not a guy that's dumb with it that I don't understand things. Did I educate myself? Did I fail to lack of education? 110%. I can't spell worth a lick. I can't complete a sentence worth a lick, and I can't comprehend reading at all. I started high school with a sixth grade reading level. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't care
Hmm.
about school. I didn't care because I had to become a man at 12 years old. I didn't have a father. I had to work for the things I wanted to put on my body, shoes, clothes. I didn't have anybody buying me anything. So I went from 12 years old to 25 years old. I raised my brothers and sisters. I took and went out and shined shoes for my sister to have formula and diapers when she was born. I was the father figure. So understand? So I did that because I love my family. In the course of me growing up, I knew and had a lot of powerful people that were around me that wound up being talked about today. They make movies about these guys. You understand? My godfather is one of the most notorious people in the history of Chicago. I learned a lot of things from him. I could have went that course. I wanted my kids and wife. I didn't want to put them through that. Okay, because I saw what they were capable of doing. But I was the little kid in the neighborhood that everybody loved. I could go in a bar anywhere at any hour. Nobody would mess with me. Nobody had the balls to mess with me if I walked down the street at midnight. They knew what would happen. But I never took advantage of that. I took lessons and I learned and realized my grandfather was as pure as gold. The man worked 38 years as a Chicago police detective, homicide detective, was the apple of my eye, was everything. If he was alive today and saw what I turned out to be, he would probably, I can imagine what he would do to me. He had high dreams. He wanted me never to be like his son, who my father, who was a crooked, dishonest cop, who embarrassed my grandfather, who lied, cheated, stealed, gambled, womanized, and I didn't want to be like my father. Unfortunately, I turned out a lot like my father, and he wasn't in my life. It's ironic that I got a lot of his, but I didn't get all his bad traits. I despised my father. I didn't respect him, but I was grateful he gave me life. At the end of his life, I took care of him till he died. Me and my sister did, where my other brothers and sisters didn't even come to his wake. They wanted nothing to do with him. But he was a complex man. He was a very, I asked him one day at 37 years old, did we do something wrong why you did what you did to us? And he turned to me and his exact words, grow the fuck up and get over it. That's what he told me.
Okay. So, all right. I understand all that.
Can you imagine
I
being
get
stabbed by your own child? Can you even
no.
fathom that your own child that you trust and never had my guard up that could happen to you? Do you know the hell I've been in? I've been stabbed, shot,
What
almost
Joey?
killed 15 times in my life. I put myself in a lot of bad ways on the street. I messed with
Right.
drug addicts. I never stole from my family. I never stole from a friend. I never robbed a liquor store. I always worked and made and hustled my own money to support my
Right,
happiness. Number
but you
one.
did look. Let's be honest. There have been some things that you've done money wise that may not
Have I
be
cheated corporations?
my
Did I cheat the government?
may not
Yes.
be
Did I take their money and
may not
spend
be
it? Yes, I did.
but that's not all right. But that's not. But that it doesn't. But what I'm trying to say, what I guess my point is in my mind, none of that matters.
I don't. You're right.
What matters is you know in 2 weeks you're going to be 59.
Correct.
What are you going to do from today
Well, I
until,
started
you
2
know,
weeks ago, actually.
the end of your life? Like, what are you going to, well, tell me about some of those things.
I realized two things in life. I could either live or I could die. There's only two things I could do. I could either want to live and make something out of my golden years and make something that I could be comfortable and at least like you're saying, if I need to buy something, I have it put away. I can go to the bank and do that. I can, if my wife has a situation, I can take care of it. If one of my grandkids needs something and my kids can't take care of it, I can provide. I want that. I don't want to die. I could be a piece of shit and fuck everybody and just, let me just go away and wither away and die. Okay.
Right. I got that. But what are you doing to work towards that goal? Like,
My goal is this. I 2 weeks ago, and I knew that after I tried a failed attempt again. Here's the thing that a few people have brought to my attention. They said, "Are you afraid of success?" That's a big question. When you start to do things right and things are going good, it seems like you even pointed out you're a guy that seems to derail pretty quick. And the question is, am I afraid of being successful and being that good in life? And the answer is yes.
Right. But we all, you know, I've been lucky. I've been lucky in what I've been able to accomplish, but at the same time, I've lived in fear that entire time. Right.
One thing I would never do. I've never lived in fear.
Well, you are if you're afraid of success, right? Like that's the thing. Like, that's a fear, and so the question, and there's also part of that I think is not thinking you're good enough. Like
Maybe you're right.
I can't, right? I see these other guys do things. I'm not going to be able to do that. But we learn what our place is in life, right? We learn, I think, as we get older, we should learn who we are, what we are, and what will make us comfortable.
Right.
So and this is like we go back to this YouTube thing of
again,
what do you want? What do you
was,
want that money? What do you want that money to be? And even if you can't earn it today,
right.
right? But you can earn it in 3 years. 3 years is not a long time away. What are you doing to build that?
Okay,
Right.
again,
What I've seen is you did the walk and talks, you stopped. I was told that was
I
because
did
of
it
your
for 6
stomach.
months. I did a 6
Then
month
I
program,
was right, and then
which was successful.
right. So, but you stopped it.
I stopped it because it's a mother helping to walk in this heat in Florida. Do you know how humid it is at 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock. It's horrible when you get health issues.
I'm not arguing that with you, but there are shopping malls, right? There are other places to go, and the heat in
And you really
Florida
scream
has.
when you got a bunch of people telling you shoo, and you're making noise when families are out and you're broadcasting. It's impossible.
No, hey, look, but you're a guy that doesn't seem to be bothered by people. You got to look at that Eliza Jordana.
Right.
She is
I still respect people,
obnoxious.
though. I still respect people.
She's still obnoxious. She's not obnoxious to a T. But even like the heat thing, okay? We're in November.
Right.
So we had September, October.
September, forget it. It was horrible here in September. It just started getting cool. Actually, the last 5 days. So,
all right, I got it. But we don't want to. I guess what I'm trying to say is we don't want to live in a world of excuses. We don't want to live in So this is too hot. The IRL thing is too hot. I can't do that. So I'm not going to do that. Then what am I going to do? Right? And I don't.
Again,
and that's again what it feels like. Is it feels
right.
like there's no
let me
plan. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me explain now. I think you've asked all. I hear every question you ask me, and I'm going to address all your questions. Okay. First of all, it seems to me you're on the same page with a lot of people that think I have no business sitting at a desk and doing a stream, and because I just don't have it, but I do have it.
But I did say to you, but I started this conversation with saying, I think you're talented and I think you could do it. Because
Right.
if
Now let
I
me finish
didn't
now.
think you would do it, I wouldn't be here. There's
Right.
plenty
I
of
know that,
people
and I
I just
respect that.
completely
IRL
ignore.
is right. The walk
So
and
put
talks
that.
should be done, and they're gonna be done. To do that the way it needs to be done, like my plan was to do, is I gotta stay true to myself and want to be healthy and not keep backsliding to do things I shouldn't and eat things and okay. But I'm one of them guys when I get derailed, instead of me focusing and saying, okay, you had a bad day, don't let it disrupt you. I try that. And then I don't know if you've been around from the beginning, but I was told by several people they never seen a guy get trolled as bad as I did in their history of them ever being on the internet. Ever. I've gotten worse than Southern John ever could imagine to get. You understand? And people told me walk away and ignore them. Wrong answer for me. I looked at when I went with Shuley and Carl and everybody told me you're making a big mistake. They'll eat you alive. And I told them, you know what? I don't need no help because I'll do this myself. I'm not going to go lay down and ignore them. I'm going to go right at their throats. And I did that by myself. And I had some horrible trolls that thought. And what I did is I asked them one simple question: why do you hate me so much? I want to know. You know what Dave Sarah's answer is why he hates me so much? The most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard anybody say to somebody. He hates me because people give me money. That's why he hates me.
Okay, but my question to you is, why do you give a fuck what Dave Sauer thinks?
I don't. But the point is, when a guy challenged me, being how I was always the guy that had to pick up myself up every time, I've been knocked down 1,000 times, and I always pick myself up and move forward. Always. I don't lay on the ground for nobody. But my point is, you're right. More people say, don't even give a shit. It's the internet. But when they made it personal, when 6 people last year made it personal, and I mean personal. I don't know if you ever heard some of the things that I've let out what they've done to me. You understand? Let me put it this way: if those 6 guys were to walk down the streets that I grew up in, they would be cut up and hacked and would have been dispersed throughout the city of Chicago, just based on what they think they're good at. You understand? And and that's the truth. They're the scum of the fucking scum. I don't care what you say. When you call up, when you're drunk, and you call up, a drunk will always reveal his truth. And you can say to a man, I can't wait to tie you up, have 6 black guys rape your wife while I'm raping your 3-month-old grandchild, and put that on a voicemail. You're getting serious now. There's something
No,
seriously wrong with you. You understand?
and I agree, but there's the way to handle that is to go to the cops and say
I
this is
did
what
at
it
that point.
is,
I did.
and this is what it is. But that's
Excuse me that I was sidetracked for 8 months with troll problems. And when I finally just realized, screw them, and I got rid of majority of them. And again, when I went out in public and started meeting the individual people that pay in this establishment, that care about you, that care about me, that care about Brennan, and the people really show their kindness, and they show that they really, this is something they love. I felt an obligation to say, I can't be a piece of shit and just not care, but I have to change everything in my life, which I have for the last 3 years. Unfortunately, your past will always catch up to you to give you your one final roadblock. That's part of life. I put a lot of damage in my life earlier in my life that's coming back because of what I did. The hardest thing for any human being to do is that when the government comes in and arrests you and takes everything of your life and rips it apart and you're at this age. It was so it messed me up so much in my head that I come out at 57 years old, 56 years old, and I've got nothing. I'm like I'm reborn at 1 day old, and I got to start my whole life again. It's been the hardest thing in the world that I had to tackle because I lost everything, and I'm not
right.
blaming or putting the blame. I lost everything because of my stupidness. You understand? But the reality is to come out now and do it at my age, and I don't have nothing, not a pot to pay. I came out with 10 cents in my pocket, no bank accounts, no, but they stole my car. They took every possession I owned. I had nothing but my disability that I paid in for. Thank God I did one thing right. You understand? That I paid my taxes
Right.
and I worked hard to save me. Otherwise, I would have been
Right.
dead 3 years ago. I would have walked off a pier and I would have just killed myself.
Right. But, well, you have a wife you love, so you're not going to do that. But if we know, sadly, like, that's where you are, right? You know that's where you are in that place. And then the question becomes,
people deserve to be treated with respect. And the people that pay the...
How do I get myself out of it? Because if you, look,
we can barely hear you. Something happened to your mic.
How about now?
He's a little better. Yeah, a lot better. Yeah.
Okay. So I can turn it. So, one of the things that you learn in, in the 12-step thing is that, resentments don't get you anywhere.
No, it don't.
And so if you're, angry at the government, even if it's justified, that's, it's like, even if it's justified, it's still not going to benefit you to live with that. So again, I ask the question, how do you get past that?
By putting one foot in front of yourself, to care enough about your human life that you want to better yourself. I cannot love anybody if I don't love myself, and I didn't love myself 3 years ago. I also came out to my stepdaughter being gone, and the government wouldn't even let us go to her funeral. So there was a lot of factors that really brought me to a place in my mind that I gave up. I was a guy that if I was in a corner, I come out pretty good. I knew how to defend myself and come out of that corner being okay. I didn't know more at that point. I basically was done. I was done here. I had no drive. I had nothing. I just thought I was a worthless piece of shit that accomplished nothing in his life. You think that what they say to me, I haven't said to myself? I keep telling these people, there's nothing they can say or do to me that I haven't done to myself. I'm my own demise, me, the man that looks in the mirror. I know this. And I have to change how I think, how I present things, how I perceive things. I have to change those three factors. I have to go deep into my soul and realize that I have a heart of gold. I am a likable person. I can make these changes. Then the podcasting comes in. I enjoy doing the podcast. I really enjoy it a lot. I love it. Can I do it 110%? I have to listen to people more. I have to believe in the people that are coming and giving me the advice, and study and learn and keep my mouth shut more and listen. I'm willing to do that. You're right. I can't rub two nickels together. If I died today, the government would have to bury me. You understand that? I don't want to be in that position no more. I don't want help from the government. I don't want a family member to come and say they feel sorry. He was my cousin. I don't want that. I want to be able to go on my own terms and while I'm alive and pay for all that stuff for my wife and me. This way, there's no burden to nobody. To do that, I've got to make myself strong here and stronger here. Then I have to take the podcast and I have to really apply myself to know that you got the tools, you got the makeup to do it. Now learn from the people that are good and listen to them and do a product that they're going to enjoy. I've been doing that. I've been on a track of doing that, putting effort and listening. I listen a lot more than a lot of people think I do. I know I never was resentful towards you. I think Ray was a guy that he'd done that to me several times. I believe you when you said you didn't have no idea that was in place. I believe you because that's what Ray does. Ray tried to emulate what Brennan does by causing warfare to get super chats. I caught that right away from Ray, but I like Ray, so I didn't mind helping him. You understand? I didn't mind, but I want to have a good. I want people to say, I want to go to Catalano TV. Joey C's got a good product. We enjoy him. I don't want people to say he's an idiot. People make fun of him. I don't want that persona. I want to generally care and build something for them so I can have a better future for me. You're all over. You're garbled. Your voice is all garbled. I can barely hear you.
Really? Hold on.
Yeah, you lost sound.
I just checked my sound.
You might have to go back out and come back in. Sometimes that's what you have to do if you're on StreamYard.
Yeah, hold on a second. How do I sound now?
Perfect. Now you're back. You're back.
All right. My computer only has USB-C plugs, and it's beat up so bad I have to take it and get it replaced. But I don't want to live without it because I use it.
I hear you.
I'm going away in a month, and I will leave it
I
with
mean,
that.
I appreciate what you said to me in the beginning, that if you didn't care and thought I was a true piece of shit, spoke volume to me. At least you think I'm capable of being a human being. That was
No,
very good for me to hear that from you.
but I got I what I really want to laugh, but what I want to laugh at, which I think is very funny. Um, I frankly, I don't think that Ray got you on to do super chats or
Yes, he is.
to
That's
get
what he
to
does.
no, because he has no. I never talked to him about you before. But what is hilarious is he completely fucked that up and somehow turned off all the super chats
No,
when we
I
were
didn't
on
know
that
that.
show, and he couldn't get super chats, and he was trying to and the only reason why he let us go on as long as he did is because he was trying to fix it because he couldn't find the chat,
Right.
and
Yeah.
people couldn't send him money. So if he was doing that to make money, that
Well,
wasn't.
maybe that particular day, but he's done it to me 4 prior times, mine and your episode. He's done it where he did it and he admitted it. He did it because he needed money, and he did rate. He got the hate super chat there. He sent it up for me, you know.
It's
And
interesting because he doesn't like the he definitely doesn't like the confrontation because every time I try to confront him, he just not
but he
confront him,
had
but
Brennan in
bring
his
him.
ear every day. Roll with it. Let them go. Don't interrupt when they're arguing. He listened to Brennan finally and tried it, and it was working for him for a while. But unfortunately, he chose to not be part of the Dabbleverse no more. I don't
Well,
blame him,
he
frankly.
also did, yeah. But the thing is, too, is that show was good for him. The one that
Right?
we did, it was good for him. It would have
Yes.
generated stuff, and of course, he put it behind a wall because I don't want whatever. But that's him, and that's for another time. All right. So we've been on for a long time. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But
I'm here.
all
I
right. So
don't. I'm okay.
so
If you
now
want to
you've
go with it,
learned. Well, I got a 2 hour drive after this. So,
all right.
but
You can
now,
ask me anything. I'm not going to not deny you that. If you want to ask me
right.
anything that you really want to ask me, I'm telling you to ask it.
No, Joey, listen, my goal was in this is to find out what makes you tick. That's basic. And, I think for me, I've pretty well accomplished that. I'm interested, my interest with people who stream and who do podcasting and who appear to me, like you, I think, want to make a living at doing it. Um,
You remember the look
I,
you gave me at DabbleCon when I said hello to
I,
you?
no, I have no idea.
You kind of gave me this look like, get the fuck away from me, because I did say hello to you when you passed me. I didn't know who you were.
I was mad at you with DabbleCon because
Right. I didn't
and
know that at the time, but I didn't even know who you were. But I did say hello to you when you walked past me, and you just gave me a look like, get the fuck away from me.
I'm sure I did, but I was annoyed at you because
You
uh
were on
you
Rocco's bandwagon and thinking I wasn't listening to Rocco.
no, I wasn't. I'm not on anybody's bandwagon. I'm on my bandwagon,
Okay,
right? My
fair
thing
enough.
is, look, I I own a business. I've had a few. I'm down to one, and soon I will have none as I retire. But uh, I I know how I know what you have to do to make things work, right? And
Absolutely.
I was shocked and a bit annoyed at you that you got to Davicon. You had done the whole like you did the remember you did the dumpster diving thing on the way up there?
Yeah.
People love that shit. And then you
Right.
got to Davicon, there's no cameras, there's no
But that
it,
wasn't what people wanted me to do. That's not what I
no,
was told to do.
it's not. But this is the point, man. You'll do a lot of shit that people don't tell you what to do.
But it was an event
But
that I had to respect, though.
this was no, you didn't have to. It was good for you. You wouldn't want to do it in the room when people are performing.
Right.
But the reality is outside. People wanted to talk to you. People wanted to, they wanted to get to know Joey C. They
And a
wanted
lot
to
of
see
people
what's
did.
happening, and they did, but nobody got to see it on stream. So
Right.
you didn't get content to use later on. I don't think have you reposted or reviewed any of the road trip stuff?
I'm
You
going.
know,
That's what I'm learning. I've learned a lot now on the back behind the scenes, how to edit, how to make clips, programs to use. I've started going now into older shows, and I've got all the DabbleCon stuff where I'm going to start clipping it. I'm by myself doing it. I'm the only one that does it. Kai Boccaccio, when he was with me, he was good at that. That was his forte. Uh, I be honest with you, like I said, I everybody I made interesting thing and made a lot of hate. I don't know if you know who Peter Sky Parker is. Do you know who he is? David Sky
I know,
Walker?
I know who. I think I've actually met him in Atlantic City, but I wouldn't guarantee that.
He was the only person 3 months into me coming on the internet. I got a phone call because someone had doxed my phone number, and he says, "This is David Skywalker," and he was very kind. And he says, and he's a pretty well-to-do guy, very, very honest guy. I think he's very successful, very intelligent man, from what I gather. Very reserved, very, kind of guy that he does drink a little bit excessive, I think, but he's successful. It doesn't matter, it didn't shelter him to be proper in life. And he says, I gotta hand it to you. I was on the bandwagon for 3 months. You were the dumbest idiot I've ever seen in my life. He goes, and then it clicked and figured out you're a genius. And I said, what do you mean? And at that point, I go, no way he figured out this. And he figured out everything. You understand? I came up with a crazy idea one night. And I was laying in bed watching Chicago PT with my wife, one of my favorite shows. And I said, can I talk to you for a minute? And she goes, yeah, honey, you could always. I said, hear me out, but don't interrupt me until I get this all out. She's okay. She looked at me and says, are you insane? And I says, think about it. And I came on the internet so aggressive and made people hate me. I was confrontational in everybody's chat room. I went at everybody. I became a pure psycho. And the first thing that worked was truly focused every single thing I did in the chat room until I docked something, and then I was banned from the chat room. That was one of the fights that led into the fight where I doxed Schmuel. When I was at war with Schmuel, I thought it was okay to use personal things against people, and Schmuel didn't put up with that. So I didn't do John doxing, but I let him know I knew a lot of personal things. But then I got even more psychotic, and I started making files on everybody, kind of like J. Edgar Hoover does. He had a file on everybody, and people thought it was a little really insanely nuts to do that. And I dug and I dug and I dug and found people's past. Some of them I won't talk about any of it. Some of them I start saying, the ones that accuse the most and come at you the hardest are the ones that always got something to hide. It's very simple. The trolls that came after me, who were calling me every scum of the earth, turned out to be scummier than me. And I took some of that with them, and I beat them up a little bit with that. I tell you a fact, and I don't care if he denies it. A guy, and I won't gonna say what show. There's a certain show in the Dabbleverse. I don't know. He's not really directly part of it, but he talks about the Dabbleverse every day. He's pretty good at what he does. He's a guy that kind of emulated. What's the guy's name? That the old guy that Red Bar. He kind of emulates himself like Red Bar. Let's put it this way: he got beat up by bouncers in Jersey. You know, because he likes to go film content, and he talks pretty hard.
Okay, I know. Yeah, I got you.
All right,
We
so
don't
let me
have to
tell you
go.
something. He was on me really bad, and I didn't know why. This guy was saying support. So right away, I went right to him and I got in his chair. I said, "Give me a link." He was scared. He thought I was going to porn bomb. I said, "I'm not like that. I don't porn people." So we had a conversation. Went pretty well. He goes, "All right." He goes, "I got to understand you a little bit, kind of like you and I." But he said, "If you listen to me, I like to see a couple things. I'm going to give you to December." He goes, "Well, I'm going to be on your ass the rest of my life to making sure I pound you out of the internet." I said to myself, to my wife at dinner, I said, "You know what? You know I don't take fucking physical threats well." So I dug deep and I found the one thing that shut his ass up against Joey C. And I went and I said one thing on my show. He was happened to be in Bible, and he would be the only one to know what the information I gave was about him and somebody in his family.
Yeah,
that man called me and begged me to meet with him on a phone conversation and begged me never to expose that. He would never talk about me again or about my wife in a bad way. And he never has.
But Joey, we're talking about.
Is that wrong or right? Am I wrong or right?
We're talking about a guy who doesn't really. I know who you're talking about. He doesn't have any listeners. He doesn't have any viewers. He's got very few. So what happens is this is these guys that got nothing. I was watching and I won't say his name, but I watched a clip of a guy last week attacking Brennan, attacking Carl, attacking Cardiff, and really all it is that's like, it's the little dog biting on the back leg of the elephant trying to get some attention.
Do you like Carl? Do you like Shuli? Do you like those guys?
I am fans of Carl. Shuli and I chat back and forth regularly, and
They're
I
both
like
great guys.
I
I
like
love.
I like I like Shuli a lot. I know that's not popular in the Dabbleverse, but I like Shuli a lot, and
Me too.
I'm also not an idiot, so I know that his numbers are not fake.
They're not fake. I can say that
and
100%.
I know, and I look, and I know what happened to him, and it's the way of the Dabbleverse. Chris Abels, when he came on, he was buying viewers. I mean, it was just,
Which he admitted, I
unfortunately,
believe, didn't he?
it was, and once he stopped, their show went from like having 1,000 to maybe 50 people,
Yeah.
and it's never recovered. But unfortunately, Shuley, who's I think a pretty trusting guy,
Yeah.
it rubbed off on him, and he's had to listen to this shit for years.
Yeah.
But the difference between Shuley and other people is, hey, fuck it, believe what you want. I'm gonna
Right.
keep doing. I'm gonna keep doing what I do.
Right.
Now, that's a lot. That's a lot. These guys that make comments about you, they're these people do this because they have nothing, right?
Correct.
They don't have anything, and so that's the deal. And so if I can insult and get in a fight with Joey C,
Right.
or somebody else, then that's going to generate some heat, and then maybe
Right.
that generates light. But if
Right.
just if you look at the way things go, look at this Gianu couple where she's out telling her good friend reveals a lot of personal stuff of
Right.
her, and she comes out on the web and says, "Oh, this is what she said. This way."
Right.
And it got nothing for her. She still
Right.
gets
Right.
30 views. Still gets 30 views a night. So, so that's a sort of it's an unrelated. It's
Right.
oh,
But
but
I
it's
want to say this, Shmuel.
go ahead.
Did Shmuel Buckman outwit me on the Ray DeVito show? You threw me for a loop. You had me. I gave you props because you were calm. You knew that I had a lot of triggers, and you were smart to stay calm, and you handled that very well. I never got to tell you that. You're one of the few people that handled me very well.
Well, I didn't want to. I look. My job wasn't to have a fight. What I really wanted to do was grab you by the shoulders and shake you and
Right.
say, "Joey, wake up. This is, this is
I had a lot of respect for you. I just want you to know that.
we got to do. That's the thing is, if you want this to be successful, then you have to do the things that are
Right.
going to make it successful.
Right.
I think
You're
what
right.
happens is,
You're
I think
100% right.
you get too caught up in the stories.
Correct.
There's way too much lying going on.
No, but that's where you're wrong. That's part you're wrong about on a lot of things.
All right, and look, and I may be, but there have been a number of times where we've got caught, but then you also put out the food for these people, right? Like you're like the cat would go away if you didn't feed it, but you're out there putting out more
I can tell
food,
you
and
this.
that miserable cat shows up
Any
again.
story I experienced in my life was 100% legit and true. Now, I fried my brains for 32 years of hardcore drugs. I get very forgetful on things, but I'm pretty close to, if I told the story a year ago, the same way I told it the second time. I don't generally, I don't enjoy, I'm not going to say, I'm a convicted liar. So people think they trump with that. That's a fact. I was convicted by the government as a liar. I lied for good reason. You understand? Point is, everybody lies. We all lie. You understand? But I generally don't lie to just lie. That's not my style. I've accomplished a lot of crazy things that people have a problem understanding that that's impossible. It's not impossible when you step in the shit I have over my ear. There's a person in your chat room. I've never done a thing to her. And she goes around daily in chat rooms wanting to know why Joey C. And I've told her, and I don't like to disrespect women, but when what she has came at me with, she takes that woman card out the door with me. Because when you start acting like a man, you're going to get treated like a man. That I believe in that very strongly. And
But this is exactly what I'm saying.
She has no idea what she's talking about. Okay,
But
she doesn't have to watch me. She has to get over the fact that I will be at every show that she loves, and that's something she's going to have to deal with the rest of her life. Her input means nothing, and she doesn't have to watch Joey C. And I don't understand why she continues.
But it doesn't. But the point is, it doesn't matter.
But
It
here's
doesn't,
the thing.
it,
Everybody
but it
told me,
doesn't
Schmuel,
matter.
they can come at me, but I got to be quiet. Why do I have to be silent and they can shit on me? That part I don't understand. That's not reality.
Well, because the way, because I don't know, but I think the way this works is, people say shit about you, people say shit about me all the time,
And
and
you're
I
supposed
just
to lay
think,
down to that? That's your
and
choice to do that.
I ignore it because it
It's your
doesn't
choice
affect
to lay
me.
down and ignore it, right? It should be
It
your
ag-
choice, right?
it is my choice to ignore it, and I choose that because
I've
it's
been told
less.
that I can't respond to it. I need to shut up like I'm a little 5-year-old kid.
Well, I've been told to not respond to things too, but it had more to do with, you're feeding the fire, and you're rekindling uh stuff, and that's why I wouldn't, that's why I choose to ignore it. I mean, there's not a show that I don't go on
Right.
where I'm not told I'm fat, old, ugly, stupid,
I don't care about that stuff.
red nosed, uh, uh, and then, and of course you get the guy that's always accusing you of doing uh you know uh nefarious, criminal things. And look, I don't care. I'd
I'm
want
not
that
a saint. If you're asking me if I was a saint, if they were trying to say I'm a saint, I've never
well,
been a saint. You
I'm
know,
not. Right. I look, the last 8 years of my life have been spent around a lot of people who aren't saints, and I don't really give a shit if
me either.
somebody's
I
not a
don't either.
saint, but I do care about what are you doing to change that. So it's like,
And I
if
told you I
you're
have a master plan, and my plan is that I have no choice. Again, I have two choices. I could die and just not give a shit, or I want to live and I want to be. I want my grandkids to say, "Grandpa was a good guy. Grandpa was a good guy." I want
yeah,
people to know
everybody
that
always, but when you're dead, everybody always says you were a good
when you're
guy.
dead, you're dead. You know the thing. Did I make stupid mistakes? Did I think of the future? No. My grandfather used to tell me every day before he died, and he died. I was too young. If he'd lived another 10 years, it would have been a whole different ball game for me because he's the one person that it was done, or I didn't break those barriers when I was with him. Unfortunately, he
Right.
passed away. But here's
Right.
he's telling me, put a penny a day away, double it as much as you can. Never go back and touch that money. Trust me, you'll be happy in 50 years from now.
Right. But again, it's too late.
It's too late. You're
You
right.
didn't do it. All right.
I
And
did
then the
not
other
do it.
thing, but listen, what I see, from having been spent time around, I mean, frankly, I don't, your story is not as unique as you think it is. You have a
I
great
don't
way of
think it's
telling.
unique.
Let me,
I
let
didn't
me
never
finish.
said that.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Right. So maybe unique's not the right word, but let's just use that word. Your story.
I'm about right.
So
I'm trying to reframe. I'm gonna have to turn your chat off because I'm gonna go postal on a bitch that keeps calling me a fucking loser. Bitch, let me tell you something. I guarantee you, in your life, you probably fucking slept with the wrong guy. You probably did shit in college if you went to college and was an alcoholic and you did drugs. Don't judge me. You don't know fucking shit about me. Okay,
all
and
right,
I promise you that. I'll tell your
Joey,
husband that, your brother, your father, and your children that. Do not
but
judge me. I don't judge you. You know shit
Joey,
about me. You don't know
Joey,
what a fucking loser is. Okay,
why? Listen, but
this is
here's the
what I'm
point,
talking
right?
about. This is what
I
happened. I turned the
I
chat off so I don't see your chat. So that's
Right, good
fine.
idea. All right, because
Okay,
it's like, what difference? These are people you don't know, right?
right,
That have no effect on your life.
correct.
What difference does it make
That's the
what they
psychoticness in me.
what
That's the
they say
psychoticness
about
in
you,
me.
right? And that you got, it's like, that's one of those things where they talk about let it go. You don't just let it go. You got to learn to let it go.
Right, you're
Right?
right.
You
And
got to
Shmuel,
you
I
got
have a
to
lot to learn. A lot.
and
I'm
that's
58. And I still got to learn a lot of
yeah,
things.
and I do as well. I don't sit here being perfect. I just,
Right,
but what I think what happens is that some of your stuff, the drug addiction, the gambling, you know, and other shenanigans. What happens is that's your story, and to you that's personal. But these people have run across other people. So it's not necessarily Joey that they're mad at. They're
right,
mad at you because of what that you remind them of,
right. I get it.
in their own lives,
I get it.
right? So, um, and the part, that's one of the things that we learn when we're in recoveries. We can't change the past, right?
No, we
What is it?
cannot change that.
We don't regret the past, but we don't close the door on it, right?
Right,
We know what we did, and we try to make amends. But we can't live there. We can't live there.
No, you can't.
And we can't let that go to where we
I
are.
think in life, everything you endure, good or bad, molds you to hopefully at some point in your life you do grow up and you understand that you did a lot of mistakes in your life. And like you said, and I think you asked a lot of great questions. Is what are you going to do about it to fix it? And that's the first word it's got to start. I have to want to fix it. I have to make the change. I
You know,
understand that, and I'm willing to do that.
it's funny how, things came to me. One of where I've learned many things from many odd circumstances. I was listening to Adam Carolla once, probably about 10 years ago, and he talked about he carries around a buck slip with him, a little piece of paper in his back pocket and a pen, and he makes notes. And I thought, well, that's not a bad idea. And
It's not
I started doing that. And what I learned from doing that was that a lot of the shit that I got into was caused by my actions,
right.
and caused by things I had done. And now I had a choice. And that choice was I could do something about those things. I could do something to change those things.
Correct.
And it's still it's not 100%. I mean, Mrs. Buckman will tell you there are things that I do that still drive her crazy, no matter how many times we talk
Right.
about them.
Right.
But that's the way it is, and
What's the
you
best
have to
thing in your
get.
life, though? Would you say would be your wife? The relationship you have with your wife has made you the man you are today?
No.
No, you don't give
No.
her no credit at all.
I wouldn't say no, because um it's wanting to make that relationship successful
Right.
has what made me into who I am.
Right.
That's
Good.
that's basic. That's what the deal was. It was I didn't want to blow this again.
Good.
And
That's
and I
that's
and
how I feel. That's where I'm at right
I'm
now.
with a woman who everybody loves, who
That's right.
everybody thinks is fantastic, that
But she's a
everybody
wonderful person.
enjoyed, all of those things, and I was miserable. So
Right.
I could either look and say, yeah, she's a cunt and she makes me miserable, or I could say, hey, Schmuel, this might be something about you that is causing this problem. And it was something that I had repeated in the past, um, with my second wife,
Right.
and I had a first one, but it doesn't really count because I think I was
Right.
married for like 2 weeks. But
Oh wow,
you
that's a
got to
good marriage.
you
2
got to
weeks. Yeah.
admit what you got to admit. So, um,
Did you hate yourself ever in your life? Did you truly hate yourself when you woke up on a daily
oh,
basis?
yeah, man, I couldn't get this. I spent years going to bed at night trying to figure out ways that I could kill myself and make it look like an accident. That's what I kept. I did that for years. Now, luckily, I never followed through. I don't have those days. I don't have those nights now. Now I look forward to the next day, and I got a lot.
Me too.
You talk about medical problems. I got a bunch of them, that I've had. I was 39. I had a heart attack and I had a heart surgery. And I remember the doctor saying to me, how I weighed 198 pounds. And he was like, how much weight are you going to lose? And I was like, I'm going to lose, 30 pounds. And going back a year later and weighing 220,
Were you always heavy in your life? I mean, when you
and
were
then,
younger?
no, when I was a kid, I was skinny. I had a 27-inch waist my
Me
first
too.
day in
Me too. I'm
basic
the same way.
training,
Yeah, me
and
too.
but
You remember the
look,
buddy system back in
you
our
know,
day?
with what? With like weight loss or
Military. The buddy system, you could go into the military and you're guaranteed to go through boot camp and if you were
uh yeah, I didn't have that, but yeah, I did hear about that.
I went in with a buddy of mine who became a Marine for 8 years and was at the White House. I failed the Marine test. I didn't make it when I
Okay.
was 17. I went down. I got recruited and I went and took the test. They brought us down, put us up in a hotel, woke us up at 5 o'clock in the morning, fed us, took us to some place to take a written exam, and I failed. And I was for the Marines. And my friend went on to be a very successful Marine and a very powerful figure in the state he lives in. He's the head of a certain task force for the state police in his and he became a school teacher first for years after he left the Marines, and all of a sudden went into law enforcement. I don't understand it. Was my best friend growing up, one of my best friends, and I still talk to him from time to time. Wonderful guy, but we had a plan to go to the Marines together. We were going to go to war and we were going to help people. But I failed the written exam and never made it past that. So
Dude, I joined I joined the military for one reason and one reason only, is to get the hell out of my house. That was the reason. And as easy as I could make it, I made it. And my 4 years were I had a great time in those 4 years if I look at them now. But when I was there, boy, I hated it. I
You
hated
failed to
everything
ask me one question. I thought you would be
about
smart
it.
enough to ask it.
Which is,
How old do you think I was when I went on my own and I left home?
you told me, you said you were like 12 or 13.
I was 14 years old when I had my first apartment.
Right. Right. So, not not me. But the point is that no, I guess what I keep going through is that I don't think I don't think that our past defines our future if we're willing to change. I think
And you have
most
to
people
change.
don't
You have to be
change.
willing to
I
change.
think everybody says that, they want to change. I don't think they do change. I think it's a commitment. And I know that, for the past 8 years, I've worked on, particularly on that. Many things I changed before that, but they were marginal. They were minor things.
Are you in a good
But
place with yourself in the mind?
oh yeah. Now I am. I mean,
Good.
and look, it's sad, you know, to get to be 62 and look back and
You
go,
don't look it, pal. You
wow,
look good.
like what a lot of shit with I call it fear, other people might call it something else, but stuff you didn't do
Right.
because you thought you weren't good enough,
Right.
or
I didn't
you
believe in
didn't.
myself enough. I know that. I lacked in that department to believe, even when people were telling me. I mean, Bob Levy said it best when he first met me, and I went on scene. He went on several interviews, and they asked the Joey C question, and they said, "What do you see in this guy?" And he says, "I see a guy with a great future. This guy is going to be a star if he listens to the right people and he cares enough to want to change." Bob Levy has said that from day one, and it's still in
Right,
my
but
corner today.
right, but we're still here. But look, we're here now, 2 years later, and
Yes,
we're
work in
still
progress, my
encountering
friend.
many of the problems, right? So I do kind of want to wrap this up because
Okay.
I do have to get going. But
Yes.
let's switch a couple of we'll switch this out real quick and
All right.
I'll just ask you some questions, and
Go ahead.
I'll tell you, and I'll also tell you what I think.
Okay.
Um, what who in the like, I'm gonna say the Dabbleverse, but even Dabbleverse adjacent shows, which ones do you enjoy the most watching? Which, like, who do you think has done, and who do you think has done the most with the least amount of talent?
With the least amount of talent? Oh, that's a tough question. 'Cause I think a lot of people are different areas are talented in many ways. I mean, and if you ask me, with a lot of people think they don't have talent, but uh, with the least amount of talent, I think Quadfather has really shown that he turned things around in his life to make a really likable show. I would say Quadfather would, and I don't watch him like I used to, but he struggled hard in the beginning. I think their channel was knocked down. They lost Bobby P. A lot of things changed in his life, but he cared enough to make changes. And I think he does a pretty good show 3 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Or 4 days a week. I think he has control of it. I think he's good at getting guests. He's good at talking in an interview. He puts together a great show today. I think for a guy that started out probably with not a lot of talents, but he developed talents now that he can stay up there with the big guys. He can. I think he's one of the guys that can. Little Mir was another guy I thought could have went somewhere big. He had the knack to interview and get the talent on there to interview, but and then he wound up. I think he just had a baby recently. That changed a lot of things. But his problem was like anybody else's. He excessively did a habit that made him become a different person if he went more than 2 hours with him. But I love the kid. I think he's very talented. I liked it. I liked him a lot. And Godfather, I think, is probably the one guy that at the moment when he started out had no talent like I did, but learned this business, and I think he's done a great job with his show.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I don't know that he had no talent beforehand, but um, what I think the point that we're getting to with that is that um, you can be success depending upon what you define as success. You can, if you take whatever talent it is you have, no matter how small it is, and you
Right.
capitalize on that,
Right.
um, I you know, um, I think you can grow. I look at a guy like Carl, and he did this because he loved it, right? He was
Yes.
doing that it was originally a podcast that he ran out of his house, did it on the
Right.
weekends,
Right.
never thought that things would grow. And one of his great talents is um, not only marketing but business wise, running
Yes.
a
He's very good.
business and making and knowing how to get it together
Right.
um, to make a profit. And
Right.
so he had that talent, and along with that talent, he's then grown his stage
Yes.
presence
Yes.
and his ability
Yes.
his
I agree
ability
100%.
his ability to keep. And if you take a guy like Shuley, who didn't graduate from high school, who you would have thought had no prospects, has
Right.
taken uh his thing and made
Yes.
it and made it successful.
Very
And
successful. I think they're the biggest success, I think, in the Dabbleverse. I think the total plan of putting together a team and doing a real as a business. I think Brennan is brilliant too at making money. He's got a lot of talent, but he's a one man show. I think he just brings it naturally. Truly was part of history. He put together a team, but he's got some pretty awesome guys in the back that do a lot of stuff for them that
well,
are
yeah, and I mean,
great
and
for them.
Shuley, when Shuley was doing it on his own, was not
No,
was
he
not
wasn't.
pulling numbers, was not doing things, and he was smart enough to say, "You know what? I need
Yes.
help. I need
I need
help
help.
doing this. I need, I need, I need to move.
And
I
he
need
did
to
that.
move on." And
Yes.
so yeah, he did that. And but I think one of the things that surprises me is when you look at some of these guys, like we all think Tukey came out of nowhere, but
No,
the
he's very
reality
talented.
is,
Rocco has a great
but
talent.
Rocco has been doing this stuff since
Long
he was
time.
a kid. And
Yes.
these guys that are the guys that are musicians really seem to know, they must have had a level of discipline to
Yes.
learn how to play an instrument, and then
Yeah.
they've translated that into this. And Melton, who I think is a great success. I
Well,
know
I
you
think
don't
he
like
was
him,
very talented for the first 10 years. I think he's
but he
derailed a lot.
well he you right, but I think the thing is like when you learn about Melton,
Right.
and you find out that he was like a theater kid, and he
Right, right, right.
he did this and he did that. It wasn't like he just showed up one
No, no,
day.
I agree. I agree with that.
Been
I
work
think
you
he's
know been
yes.
working at
I
it
think
a
he's the
long
best at a
time.
one-man show. I never seen anybody handle an audience. He's got everything the right way. The what I don't like about Melton is he's willing to cross lines to go for someone's throat and rip them apart, where I don't agree with so much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and look, I can understand how people might feel that way. But when you get to know him, he's such a nice guy. It
I'm
it
going to tell you a
you know
guy that
it
look out for the
blows me
future,
away.
buddy.
So
JBX. That guy's talented, creative, and is going to come out strong when he's ready to come back. Don't count him
yeah,
out.
I it's funny you say. I listened to him recently. He was on a show with two people, and he was great. I thought when I but I have seen his show where he's got, like, there's 10 or 11 people on it, and I just it's like riding on the subway with people
I get it.
jabbering.
I
I
get it.
I can't. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Um you know I
He's going to bring
and
you a lot of joy in the future. You're going to wind up loving this kid. Trust me when I
I
tell you.
don't yeah, and I don't know a lot of these people. Um what did you think about Levy leaving TSN?
Well, I'm here. Let me tell you something. Was it today? They wanted to talk. They asked. I was asked what I thought of the Bob Levy after Gina and Bob had the show, and I chose to not dabble in that because one, I will not pin myself against two friends that I admire and I love to death like brothers. Um, but what I heard and I think the world of Mrs. Levy. She's always been kind to me, and Bob has always been kind to me. But Shuley has been very kind to me. Shuley has went out of his way as Bob did, and as a lot of people have. But so I chose to stay out of it. We played the thing, and I didn't really get. Tom Gully was on with us, and of course Lou, and I didn't want to comment. I don't want to comment about it. I don't want to see two friends that were friends for a long time be in this position. It hurts me. I'm going to tell you, it really deeply hurt me to hear what inspired. And I think a lot of bad pressure came over the last few months when you're doing everything right and you're making money, people they hate on that and they want to find anything to take you down if they don't like you. And it was pretty shitty that I thought DabbleCon, when my first experience, was very successful because I believe in Carl. Carl has been a good mentor to me. He's given me a lot of great advice. But like I said, when I gave praise to 5 people today, Carl, Shuli, Bob, but Rocco got the most because as much as people think me and Rocco at war, we're there's a friendship there that he really generally cares and has really went out of his way. He kept me alive, my name, more than anybody. Tukey did, and
Well,
I
Rocco, even in everything that I've ever heard, any comment that I've ever heard Rocco say that had your name in it,
yes,
was he liked you.
he does like me a lot, and he talks
He
to me a
liked
lot.
you.
And
All right.
he
So
picks a lot.
we know you don't like the you might not get the reference, but the rest of the people will. I know you don't like the volleyball guy.
I don't
Um
know who's that, but
I when
I'm
it's the guy you talked about earlier.
okay. Okay,
Um
gotcha. Yeah, okay.
all right. And I know you don't like him. Some people to me are unremarkable.
Right.
Jake Hudson, nice guy but
I
unremarkable.
like Jake a lot.
Um
I showed a lot of empathy, but Jake just wants to keep always stepping in the same thing, and I had enough of it, So I
right,
just.
but some people's capacity is limited, and you have to understand that.
But I
So
want to tell you two other guys that I think are talented. That they are that
okay,
could be Hackerite Studios and Blind Mike. I think are going to be could be as big as they want to be. I think
right.
those two guys are phenomenal. I when I did, but Hackerite took me under his wing, and it was all genuine. He taught me a lot of things. I learned a lot of. Hackerite is a very interesting person, very smart individual. Had some deep conversation. This man mentored me with some of the greatest things he wrote to me, and just he asked me a lot of questions personally about me, to not know sick stuff, but to get to know me. And he pinpointed the type of person I was, and he was the first one to tell me, "Close the door. You can't rescue everybody. It's time for you to shine. It's time for you to put your foot in the right way. Stop worrying about other people." He was a big instrumental that he changed me in a lot of ways. I'll never ever forget what he did for me.
Did you
Unfortunately,
go
go ahead.
ahead? I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, some things happened with some of the people that I associated with that upset him because of his co-hosts. Uh, that there were some things said about another friend of mine that they don't like, and he basically asked us to side with him. I couldn't do that. I like the other guy. I don't work for the other guy. I don't do his show, but he's never been mean to me. He opened his house for me and was kind to me and fed me a meal. I understand the rivalry, but then Hackwright did come back the last words to me and said, "You know what? I was unfair to you because you're free to do whatever you want. I will never be angry at you." He said,
All
"I'm
right.
sorry I
Well,
put you in that
uh,
position."
uh,
Yeah.
okay. And then you said there was one more.
Um, like I said, Blind Mike and Hackwright Studios. I think I already told you what I feel with that Quadfather, but JBX was my JBX is gonna is gonna really. I'm telling you, this guy is so creative and so deep and passionate, and he is going to be a star. I'm telling you, he's monetized and he hasn't done nothing with it. He got monetized and parked it. He's parked it for the last 6 weeks. But let me tell you something. This guy's a winner. Get on board with him. He's a
Right.
nice
Well,
guy.
right. And different people different people have different goals. I don't know him. I don't really know his situation. Like for me, uh, getting monetized is I do this because I like to ask people
A pain in
questions and I
the ass,
like
to
to
be
have
honest with you.
conversations. So I don't really, and I that's not not where I'm going. So
Right,
I don't begrudge people who do or don't
right.
um, make money, but I do at the same time when you see somebody who wants to make money and wants to be successful and could use the money and feel like
Don't
to
listen
me
to the
like
people
you're
that are
just
trying to help
stuck
you.
in
I
a
get it.
hole. I
I
don't.
get
That that gets me.
You know what
And
Carl said to me when he interviewed me? He goes, Carl didn't want no part of me when I first came on the scene. He didn't say nothing bad. Someone had asked him what he thought of me, and he says, "Well, he's a unique guy that's different. I choose not to be in his camp because he's not my type of guy." One day, when he said that to me, I said, "I'm going to make Carl a believer in me," and I started conversing with Carl, and he thought I was the one that told Stutter and John not to go on his show. And I got to give John props. He stood up and says, "No, no, no." Joey C said if I didn't do the show, it would be bad for me. I told John, you need to go on that show with Carl after he did the 3,000-hour interview with Brennan. I said, you'd be stupid not to do it. I told John. John called me 7 times that day. What do I do? I said, John, go do the show. Carl got misinformed. But then one day Carl said to me, I finally got an email from him. He said, you know what? I thought about it. I'm going to do the interview.
how did you? I'm interested in that. How did that interview? Why did Carl do that interview?
Because
Did he?
when I came on and things weren't working for me and I didn't understand the trolls, and I said, listen, I got to figure something out. I evaluated everybody who I thought would be the best guy to interview me, that I thought I would get an honest interview from. I chose Carl to be the guy to do it. And I told him that. And he says, I appreciate it. I'm not interested. A couple weeks later, I got an email, let's do it. It's on. And Carl, at that point, he told me what he thought my talents would be and how I would be a big star if I left the Dabbleverse at that time and took my baseball and my growing up with the people that were in my family and told those true stories in those areas. I would make a lot of money. And he said, take my advice and I said, so are you a Joey C guy? He said, I'm going to tell you this. I didn't like anything you did. I thought you were reckless. But at this point right now, I'm in your corner supporting you to be successful. And then the friendship just grew. I have most respect for Carl. He told me in New York, whatever I need, whenever he's on the road, is done. Just don't hesitate. Wherever he's at, I could be there. I've never told anybody that he's put me on stage. I go as a fan, first and foremost. I know my place. When when Bob gave me the praise, I got up, I took a simple bow, and I sat down, and I knew my place was to be there as a fan. It wasn't me. I did that right. I did that correctly. I wasn't a stuttering John where I was going to make it about me. I didn't. But I had a couple people be very rude to me at DabbleCon. I had one person I accidentally brushed and turned to me and told me, don't ever fucking touch me again. And it was a female. And I accidentally brushed her because it was a crowd. And she looked at me like she wanted to kill me. And I didn't even know who this person was.
Yeah, Joey, look, that is like, that's just that just happens. I had that happen to me at Hackamania.
I was blown away.
And for me, my experience in this Dabbleverse has been a fun one. When I was at Hackamania, I was sitting by myself reading the newspaper and eating breakfast, and a bunch of people saw me alone and came over and sat with me because they thought I wanted company. And I become friends with them. And that, look, it was a good thing for me because I would have said normally, I really want to be here alone. That's why I'm sitting at this table. But that's why I'm sitting at this table by myself.
I tried to make up with your partner and I tried to be friends with Dave Serra to let him come. Let's go do a show. I've invited him on. Why don't you get to know me before you listen to other people? He just refuses, and he finally admitted he was scared to come on my show or have me on his show.
He's told me that he likes you and that he's on a what do you call it, oh God, I'm going to use the word truce. That wasn't the word that he used, but he said you and he are currently at peace.
We are. I didn't know nothing about the guy. I never knew who he was. All of a sudden, the guy came out and started ripping me on a show, and I'm like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, Dave and I became friends because I was watching him on a show, and everybody was referring to him as a cokehead, and I didn't know the guy. I just sent the guy a private message.
Well, he is a cokehead.
I said,
he
man,
still has
this
a
is not going to be, if you're trying to develop a future, being known as the cokehead is not the way.
Right.
Is not the way to do it. I have.
I agree.
I have I've seen a lot of guys have their lives go to shit because of.
Can I ask you a personal question?
But yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever seen anybody murdered?
I have not seen them murdered. I have seen people who were murdered.
No, there's a difference. You knew people that were badasses that did that. Have you ever physically seen someone murder somebody before your eyes?
No, I've no. I don't think that I've ever seen anybody murder someone. But I
Three
spent
times in my
long.
life, I was in a situation where I physically saw that. You understand?
Right.
And it's not a pleasant thing to see.
No, it's not. And I remember seeing my first dead body, and it took a while. It took a while to get over it. But again, I would say, and this is I say this to my wife a lot. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. It's what's going to happen, and we have to
Right.
learn from it, not
Yeah.
not dwell on it. And
Right.
those are interesting stories. That part of the problem I would say though with you is that they get mixed up with um, other things, so people don't know whether you're telling the truth or whether
I
you made up
promise
the
you, everything I've
story.
experienced is 100%
And
legit.
right, I'm not saying that you didn't, but I am saying that you know it probably will take some time before people come to accept
I
much
accept
of many of the things that you say.
I accept that.
Um, all right, and look, and it is what it is, and nobody in this universe is perfect.
No,
We're that, and people have done things that they regret and they wouldn't want spread
right,
out. And you're a guy who's very comfortable at talking about that stuff,
right.
and that will make other people uncomfortable. All right, we're gonna go like 3 more minutes.
Okay.
Because I gotta
I
get the
appreciate it.
hell.
Thank you for
I
taking the
gotta
time.
get I gotta get the hell out of here.
At best, I hope I made you more awareable and understand me a lot better. Uh,
Well, yeah, I mean, and I hope that I got you.
you did. You did a wonderful,
I hope
wonderful.
I got you thinking that you gotta. It's like you gotta put the work behind
I hear
the
everything
stuff
you told me, Mr.
this
Buckman.
the stuff that you're doing. No, and that's it's like with Dave and I, we do a great show, but our
You do.
schedules are
You do.
so fucked up, and we don't get to do them enough, and we don't need to agree. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. Where do you think that you and Lou will be continuing this, or maybe he should get another show, or um, what's your general feeling about that?
Well, first and foremost, I have a lot of respect for Lou, and he's a friend. He's a guy that we live very close. We can go to each other's homes and have a meal. We can talk and interact for real. And instead of being someone that you just know through podcasting through a link that you've never met, we are we do. He does come to my home a lot. We have lunch together. Um, Lou's been around a long time in the internet, and he's one of them guys that never, I don't think, ever got cared about getting monetized. He didn't care about, he's been a character where he's very headstrong. But Lou is a great family man. He's a loyal person, and he's a friend. He's a true friend. Uh,
But he
I
might not be the
never
best
anybody
co-host for
dislikes
you.
Lou. Lou is a balance for me, as I'm a balance for him. You understand? And we're there to help each other. And I promise Lou, because I'm just as angry as him, and I've tried to. I'm changing my ways. That I'm gonna make him. I'm gonna make him understand. I mean, he's gonna learn that he could walk away not caring either. He don't have to pay attention to this. He takes a
Yeah,
lot of.
I don't know, but I listen, and I understand all of that stuff. I just don't know that it works for you and your show.
Right.
It's like I could be great friends with somebody, but they may not make a good co-host for
We're not
me.
going down in numbers. We're going up every show that we do. So.
Okay, now I obviously I can't check that, okay? But I
Right.
do know that a lot of the stuff with a lot of people is feeling, right? You're
Right.
feeling you're going up, you're feeling you're um doing more, but you don't necessarily know until you sit down and you got to look at the analytics and you
Right.
got to figure out are we
What do you think
are
my
we
analytics are? What do you think
break,
truly what my analytics are?
breaking I think you got about 30 to 50 people a day.
I'm
That's
50 to 70 bracket now. What Shirley told
okay.
me. a lot of podcasts, they were at 40. He really remembers when he was at 40 for a long time. I'm gradually climbing, but my walk and talk averaged 1,000 to 5,000 views. You got to understand, if you got 50 people in your chat room that are just showing themselves, you still could have 150, 200 people that checked in, saw your show for a couple minutes, but didn't go in the chat room. At the end of every show, when you do it on your mobile, you get a tally right from YouTube on the actual count of how many people have stopped by while you were live. And the walk and talks, I would hit numbers like 3,000 people while you were live came and clicked on your show.
Right. And is that first of all, your walk and talks are interesting. Your interactions with people are interesting, but this is what Joey gets when he's on his own. Does he get that when he's
I can tell you this:
co-hosting
if you will take the
with
time,
you?
and I'll let you see all my analytics. When I do a show by myself, my numbers are anywhere from 6 to 1,500 by myself. Total views for the show. After the show, people go back and watch. Well, how many watch hours are going up like
Joey,
crazy?
that may be the point I'm trying to make.
Right. I understand what you're saying, my friend. I'm the product. I get it. I'm the product. I get it.
Yeah, but I don't. It's like it doesn't feel to me like I don't watch the show.
Give it time.
Because
Lou's gonna come around.
No. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
I don't watch the show because I don't think you and the co-host mesh. And I also the clown outfit or whatever the hell that is. It's distracting to me. And even though I listen to most shows, not
I agree with you on that.
And I also, getting pissed off at Doom is but it's not. It's because it gets so vitriolic with him. It's not fun. You're talking about like he's probably the best clipper that we have.
I agree with that. I'm Team Doom, right? And I come in when Lou gets crazy and I defend Doom.
Right, but I just whatever. It just feels like it's too much. And I'm really, this part of me is me just telling you what people
as a person that watches shows and likes shows, I get it. I understand you. I've heard everything you said and took it with great compliment of the things you told me today.
But we have to do something with it. I just
don't give up on me, Shoe Buckman. Don't give up on me. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
Joey, look, I'm not giving up on you. Look, I appreciate your coming on here. You took a real chance with me. And I just, I hope that all of these people who talk to you, the Tukis and the Hack Rides and people who've given you advice, that you put that into action.
I'm doing that.
You do something, that you do something with it, because it's too unfocused. We've used that word a lot. It's too haphazard. And there, if you want to be successful at this, which I think you can be, you're gonna have to. You're definitely gonna have to focus.
A lot of work ahead of us. Yes, we do.
More right, but we got to do. We actually have to do the work, right? It's not just.
You think I just get out of bed and I wing a lot? I do study a lot of things to make me better every day. I stay up and watch shows and people and the people that are successful, the people that are trying to be. I study everything. I'm just a slow learner, but I apply myself. I'm putting everything I do every day, and I'm trying to do exactly what you're telling me, exactly what Rocco's telling me, exactly what Shuli and Carl, and what Bob tells me on a daily basis. You understand? I'm doing that. I just have to do it at my pace. I'm
right.
Right,
and you don't have to listen. And you don't have to listen to everything. Nobody's 100%
correct
all the time.
You're right.
But the Lou thing though, that comes up all the time. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel right. And maybe but also too, you strap on strap your iPhone or whatever on, and you get one of the little neck things are about $15.
I have one. I have it.
Because it's like, let's see what happens when Joey goes and gets gas. Let's see what happens when
It's
Joe,
coming, my
you know,
friend. I promise you.
Joey
Everything.
has a, all right. Okay. All right. All right. I just, this is, you know, as I said, these are conversations I've had with people about many areas in life, and um, they don't, they don't change. And sometimes if you don't have somebody behind you, kicking you
You're
in the
easy to
ass a
talk to,
little bit,
Schmuel Buckman. I got to tell you that. You're easy to talk to.
which Mrs. Mrs. Buckman gets me to do things, and um, but I listen. I just I think it would be great for you to do. I would love to have you and Rochi on together. Well, I think that would be funny. But
He'll never do it.
that's it. But you don't need conflict. And about Rochi, I think it's hilarious. I always thought Rochi was hugely fat,
No,
and
he's
then
not
the
that big.
other
Okay.
and no, and the other day I saw him sitting on the couch. He's wearing a pink shirt, and I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, he's not who I thought he was.
he's the
But
Benny Hill of the Devilverse.
I find him and Ekul
I like Echo too.
very very funny, and I think it works. So with that, uh, I'll let you go. Do you have any questions for me before we bail out of here?
The only question well, a statement. I thank you for asking me to do this, staying true to your word. Um, that this wasn't a setup, and I think you're an easy person to talk to. I think you're very intelligent. I think you know that the best course of action for me. You believe enough that I can do this, and I want you to know that I've heard everything you've said today and 10, 10 months back that you've ever said about me, and everything that took you, it's all here. Now I'm going to take all that knowledge that everybody's got me, I'm going to process it, and I'm going to start doing things that you're going to say, that a boy, Joey,
All right.
you're
Well,
finally
I'll
got it
tell you
together.
what. I'll tell you what, Joey. February 21st. I'll send you another invite, and we'll see what. That's 3 months, and we'll see
Fair
what's
enough.
happened in that time. And I also want to say and make it very clear that I asked Joey to do this. Joey said yes. Joey never asked me for a nickel. I didn't
Never,
have to pay him.
never.
Um, all the things that people think about that didn't come up. It was never an issue. And Rochi, it's possible. I'm gonna put this up here and say that is absolutely possible. But
It,
guess what? We're
it is
gonna be back
possible.
in we're gonna be back in 3 months, and I will and I make a lot of notes.
Fair enough.
Um, and we're gonna keep them, and we'll keep this, and we'll see.
Fair
And
enough.
Joey, oh, I don't know what this says, but and look, this certainly helped me more than it helped you because I get, no viewers at all. So it was very kind of you to do it, and I,
No,
I,
my
I
pleasure.
really appreciate it. You
I
didn't
asked you
have
one thing
to.
and you answered it truthfully, and I said, "No problem, I'm in." That's all I asked was just to I wanna be serious and you wanna interview and you wanna ask, I'm okay with that. Just I don't like to be stonewalled and put in a situation, of being pinned on something that is gonna be bad for me, and I respect what you did, and I would never
Well, I
I
want
don't
to find out what's going on inside that mind that
mm,
that is Joey C. And you know,
thank you.
the truth is, after this conversation, probably in 2 weeks, I could do it all over again because I'll think about it and I'll come up and then there'll be a lot of
You
questions that
got my DM.
I didn't.
You can keep in touch with me. Feel free to show if you got something you want to tell me, an idea or something you think might work.
Yeah, no,
I'm an open
I.
book. You can talk to me anytime.
But I'm not. Yeah, and I'm not. Look, I'm not successful at podcasting. It's not
You could
something
be. You could be.
that I
Yeah.
did, and it may be, and it's a hobby for me. So I appreciate you taking the time to do
No,
it.
my pleasure. It was
And
my pleasure.
all right, buddy. With that, let's have a good night. And
Have a good night, Mr.
everybody,
Schmuel.
Joey C. It's Catalano TV, and
Thank you.
it's the at the goat 1421
Yeah.
on Twitter. All right.
Thank
And
you.
I
Thank you,
am
Schmuel.
Buckman Schmuel at Buckman Schmuel on Twitter and Schmuel Buckman on here. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.